Mate, that looks a lovely backdrop. Wow. Between that and your
But
garage, mate, geez, you got some setup going on.
this is only green screen, mate. I'm actually against a brick wall.
I've literally got like a tiny little office that I'm in. It's about, I don't know what it is, 8 feet by 6 feet, if that. So I mean, it's tiny that
Listen,
I'm
man,
in.
that's all you need. I use this for a lot of filming stuff. It's a
Uh-huh.
studio type of thing. So I actually do use it for green screen stuff
Oh,
and
okay.
everything else. So that's why I need a bit of depth. So I was just thinking last Christmas, I think it was, why don't I just make something of the bloody room for doing this sort of stuff as well, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Looks
that's
really
the
good.
only reason I have this. Well, really good. Yeah, that's the
Really
first one.
good. Didn't even mean that. Hey.
Hey, it's great to see you, Bruce. It really is.
And you,
Are
pal.
you recording yet? No, you're not recording.
Yeah, I had it as soon as I start recording. But whenever, I mean, we can be going now if you want. It's up to you, whatever you
Absolutely.
want.
Let's crack on. Let's crack on, mate. Yeah.
Right, lovely, folks. Dave Perry, Wheelie Good TV. He's back. How you doing?
Uh, great to see you again, Bruce. Absolutely brilliant. Do you know what, as well? I think the last time we chatted, was it on Peaky Bike as
Yeah, it would be. Yeah,
uh, yeah. And I remember the Wi-Fi I had was so dreadful, I had to leave halfway through.
that's
So
right.
since then, I'm now on that new Elon Musk Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah.
And so far, so
Very
I
good.
got you
Very
there,
good.
got you there. No, so far so good. It hasn't froze or dropped out once. So, and if it doesn't work for an important bit of a chat like this, I'll sue him. I'll bring him down. I'll lose his billions.
Yeah, Elon. Get your
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
priorities straight.
yeah,
Got brew
yeah.
time to do here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right,
No,
do
but
you have a tipple of choice at hand?
I do. I'm not sure if this has ever been done before on your show. It's probably considered contraband on your show, but and please tell me if it's not allowed, and I'll change it for something else. But
No props.
it's actually a cup of tea.
Mate, you're in
So
good company. There's many people had a brew on brew time. Don't worry about it.
that is brilliant. Yeah, of course. Well, the clue is in the name there. So I have a good old cup of tea. I'll tell you something. I got back off holiday at 5 o'clock this morning.
Mm.
This isn't just makeup. It's a real tan. And so I got back off holiday at 5 o'clock this morning, and I've been away in Spain for a few weeks. And the thing I miss most, especially when you live in Ireland, is a grand old cup of tea.
Everyone
So I
says
was
that.
so
Yeah.
looking forward to getting back to a good cup of tea. And I mean, it's one of my five a day now, a good cup of tea, you know, and I haven't had
Yeah.
a decent cup of tea in the whole holiday. So, so
It
that's
must
why
be
I'm
the
having a cup
water
of
or
tea now.
something over there as well, because like, I know
Uh,
people that take tea bags with them. They literally take tea bags with them, and the tea doesn't
yeah,
taste the same. It's weird when it's over there.
it's
Don't know.
definitely not the same. When I met my Irish wife, and we went off on our first holiday, she took tea bags with her. She took
Yeah,
Irish sausages and she took
bet she
Tayto
did.
crisps. Yeah.
Sorry.
And I was just like, what on earth am I getting into here? But
Yeah,
now I'm one of them. I
yeah,
really am. I'm one of them now.
yeah.
She converted me, man. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it looks like you've been losing a bit of weight.
Mate, no,
Or,
no,
or is it a
anything
camera
but.
angle?
I
You've
think it's
got one of them.
camera.
You've got one of them slim filters on. I must buy one of them. So,
Must have, yeah, yeah. No, I mean,
yeah,
I've like I do rowing. Normally, it's in the new year, and I normally last
yeah,
4 or 5 months before just life gets in the way, and that's that.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
life's got in the way. I haven't rowed since probably May, I think, early May, but
I
I'm
haven't had a
itching to get
ride
back
since
at
then
it.
as well.
Say nothing. Say nothing.
Here we go. Oh, I must
Hey.
say as well, in my cup of tea here, I've got one of them new Viagra tea bags. Doesn't change the taste of the tea, but it stops your biscuits from going soft. Boom, boom.
Jesus Christ. Doesn't get much better than this, folks. So give up now.
The old ones are the best. The old ones are the best. So yeah.
Mate, there's loads that I want to chat to you about as usual, but we do have
Great.
a lot of questions to get through.
Do we?
So yeah, yeah, mate.
Wow,
There's
wow.
there's a load. You're a popular guy.
That's exciting. I remember the last time we spoke. I don't know how long ago that was. A long time ago.
3 years ago,
But I
you were
was
last on
amazed
Bru
that
Time.
you. How
Three
long ago?
years. 3 years.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Time is flying. So,
Tell me
but I
about it.
remember then thinking, I can't believe there's one question. Anyway, this is great news.
What
Go on
camera have
then.
you got there? Is that the Pocket?
Dead right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
so
is.
I was
Yeah.
following you. Yeah.
It's following. To be honest, for this sort of stuff, when it follows you, I find it a little bit distracting. Certainly when I'm, well, not for me, but when I'm watching other people with one as well, I think it's a little bit distracting. But it does come in handy. I've done a couple of things of late where I've been sort of demoing gear, and
Yeah.
I've went to the desk over there to pick up the bit of gear, and it's like the
And it
camera's followed
follows.
me with. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good. It does give it a bit of depth of field as well.
Yeah. It's really
So
good, isn't it?
yeah. No, I really do like it, and a very affordable bit of kit.
Yeah. I held
It's
off. I've
great.
just bought one about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I've had the
Ah,
two
brilliant.
for, well, since it came out. So that's about a
Yeah.
year, I suppose. And I held
Mm,
off getting the three and thought, is it going to be that much better? And I was just, and
yeah.
I don't know what it was. I was just looking at your footage and other people's. I was looking at the footage and thinking that just
Yeah.
looks like the depth of field in particular. I couldn't get
Absolutely.
that with the two, and not to
No.
the same degree anyway. And
Yeah.
yeah, I went for it. I bought it, and I love it. I love it. Great bit of kit.
Yeah. To be honest, Bruce, what I do now on all my vlogs as well, I do all my pieces to camera, top and tail with the Osmo Pocket 3,
Yeah,
because I got the one which comes with the microphone, so
yeah,
there's no receiver. It just
same.
the receiver's built into the camera. You got the
Yeah,
same, yes.
yeah.
So that is just so easy. Switch it on and you're going. And then whenever I do the very rare bike review that I do, funny enough, I'm doing one next week. But I use the Pocket 3 for that as well.
Mhm.
Just because of the stabilization in it, especially when you set it in slow mo. So,
Yeah.
as we all know, there's new stuff coming out, bigger and better, and
I know, yeah.
just great.
Apparently September, isn't it? September, October time. I think that's
That's when it
DJI's
all kicks
favoured
off
one.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how GoPro come up against DJI this year round, because
And Insta.
yeah, and Insta, yeah, I
Yeah.
know, but I think it'll be very interesting anyway. But yeah, the Action 5 will be due out in September, so that's in now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah. I
but
mean, I've not done any like dedicated filming yet, but I've been trying them all. I didn't buy the
yeah,
Hero 12, the GoPro 12, because I had the 11, and the 12 don't
yeah,
look that much different to the 11 anyway. And I've literally got GoPro going back to
I
the first.
see.
That's the first one. That's the first Hero right
Is
there.
it?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it?
yes.
Wow.
720. I've got that. There's the two, the three, the four. I've got the session 4 and 5, then the 7, 9,
Yeah,
10,
yeah,
11. Well, two 11s. I was like a GoPro faithful. I just thought, no, I'm going to stick with them. I'm going to stick with them. But same as
yeah,
you and everybody
yeah.
else, lost so much footage
I
to
know.
corrupt
Uh,
files
uh,
and no
uh,
audio. Ugh,
Yeah.
just,
Well, if I was you though, Bruce, I'd keep that collection behind you,
oh,
because
I
when they
know.
do go belly up, that might be worth a fortune.
I'm going to keep it just because for me it's a nice little timeline really of
Yeah, of course it
when I
is.
started
Yeah,
using it all. But
absolutely.
I'm an Insta man now. I've got to say I've got the
Right. I've seen your
uh,
stuff with Insta. Yeah.
yeah, that's the
Great.
Ace Pro. They sent me a couple of Ace Pros and some kit to try out. And to be honest, I kind of thought, I'm not going to like this. I had it in my head. I'm not going to like
Yeah.
this GoPro. GoPro's going to be the better one. And
Yeah.
initially, I thought the field of vision wasn't as good as GoPro, and it's not quite. It's a little bit like the DJIs. It's a little bit narrower in the
Yeah.
vertical depth of field, and I think it's the same as GoPro width-wise, but it's just a little bit narrow in the vertical depth of field, and I just wasn't sure about it. But I did that trip to America with it, and it was, and it has been to this day, it's been faultless in terms of
Mm,
crashes.
mm.
I've had a few issues with the audio, but that's because rain. Basically, when it's rained, the water's managed to get in.
Ah,
But I got that moldable putty stuff now, so I just mold that round everything, and so far
brilliant.
now I've started using
Brilliant.
that. It's been spot on. I bought the Action 4 as well. I saw
Right.
your vid on the Action 4 and Andy's, and I think
Yeah.
even Lamb Chop. Lamb Chop's got sent a load of kit by DJI. So he started
Nice.
using their stuff. So I bought the
Great.
Action 4 and
Yeah.
tried it. But I got to admit, I don't like it. It feels it's
What?
I know. I know. The picture quality is good. You know, it's
Yeah,
every bit as good as the other two. But for me, it
yeah.
was the little audio adapter at the side. You know that you plug your lav in. I
The
bought
laughing,
three.
yeah.
Yeah, the one I had was really, it wiggled around a load. So once the mic was plugged in and I started riding, when you got the speed up, say, above 40 odd mile an hour, all I got was clicking all the time, where obviously the adapter's moving. So I
Oh,
bought
that's not
another
good.
two on Amazon,
Yeah,
and they're DJI adapters, exactly the same, stock ones, OEM ones,
yeah.
and they're all exactly the same. They all wiggle about in the camera.
That's really strange. Now, what I've done, and you just mentioned it before there, I got that moldable putty as well,
Yeah,
to put around that adapter. Obviously, you don't need that adapter if you're using the DJI wireless mic too.
wireless. Yeah.
So I was doing that for a while, and then because of the nature of what I do for a living and all that sort of stuff, people were asking me how that mic worked, and they
Mm,
all wanted to, not everybody, a lot of people wanted to get into that system, and it became very apparent that the stuff I was using was out of the price league of a lot of people.
yeah. Yeah.
So I sort of wound it back a bit, and I went back to just the DJI lav mic, I think, which is
Yeah.
very affordable. It's something like 60 quid. So I bought that and the adapter just so people could relate to the equipment I was using if they wanted to go out and started, to experiment with that. So,
Yeah.
but I've never had that problem. But what I did do is I put that moldable stuff you're talking about around. So it's now a
Mm.
fixed thing, that adapter on the side of the camera. But I've never had any problems like that.
Maybe that's giving
Um,
it like extra rigidity, possibly. You know.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it
Yeah.
might be worth a shot. But
Yeah.
I absolutely love the cameras, and I've reached out to DJI so many times, because I know I'm responsible for selling well over 150 cameras, because
Jeez.
I've had the feedback from people who've watched
Mm.
my videos and
Mm.
have told me that they've gone out and bought on the strength of it. And I've sent DJI all these figures, and
Yeah.
just looking for some sort of affiliate link to offer to the
Yeah. Yeah.
subscribers,
Hmm.
and then a small kickback for myself. I wouldn't mind either,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I haven't even had a reply from them. But listen, it would be very shallow of me if I stopped promoting their products just because of that, because
E-
they do make
Exactly.
incredible products.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's. I mean, I'd heard from Insta 360 quite a few years ago. I think it was when the X2 came out. Or it might have
yes,
been. Yeah, it was. Yeah, when the X was it the X. No, the original X, the original one. They got in
yeah,
touch, and I'd already bought it. I'd already bought it when it came out. You know, so ooh, flashy new thing. Went and bought it, and
yeah,
they, even though I'd bought it, they were like trying to tell me, right, can you do a vid on this and giving me deadline? And I was like, hang on a minute, like
yeah,
I've
yeah,
bought this with my own money because I want the freedom to create the content I want to create.
yeah,
So thanks very
yeah,
much, but no, you're all right. Well, obviously never heard from them again. So it was like, oh well, I've burnt that bridge. Never mind. And then,
yeah.
like the X3, I think it was. I bought the X2, and then the X3 came out, and I was just like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not spending any more money because the amount of time I use the 360, it's just like, it's just not worth it. Well, yeah. Obviously, what happens? Insta get in touch and sent me two of those Ace Pros. I used them, and I really like them. And then I was just like, well, 360's handy sometimes, isn't it, to get the little angles that you can get? And I was just like,
Yeah,
oh,
very
okay.
handy. Yeah,
Yeah, so I
very
went and
handy.
bought the X3, and the next thing, literally about a week after I bought the X3, I get a message from Insta 360 going, "We've seen your vids. We love the vids that you're doing on the Ace Pro. What about the X3? Can we send you that?" And I was like, "I've already bought it. I've got it." But then they
Oh
tried the same
no.
thing. It's like, "Well, could you do a vid on this and that?" And I was like, "No, I've bought it.
Yeah.
I'll do my own content. Cheers, thank you."
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say I fell out with them, but they stopped sending. They did send me an X3, and I
Mhm.
made a review about it again, like you. They wanted it done within a certain time frame. I was away
Yeah,
on holiday. I'm not
yeah.
always on holiday, by the way. I was away on holiday, so they were going to have to wait for that. And in fact, I shot a lot of the footage whilst I was on holiday. And I found a few points which obviously I mentioned, and then as I kept on using the camera for months afterwards, well, I still use it to this day. It's an
Mm,
incredible camera,
mm,
but it does have its limitations. The bit rate, for instance, is
yeah,
so it falls apart when you try and electronically zoom in and whatever
yeah,
because the bit rate just isn't there.
yeah.
And I tackled the design or the development team because they put me in a WhatsApp group with them just to give instant
Wow.
feedback, and I tackled them on it. And the figures they were giving me didn't match up. And they didn't know my background, maybe.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mentioned this in the video. Maybe it was a foolish thing to do because all contact was lost after that.
Yeah.
So they didn't like me basically calling them out on it. But I was right.
Sorry to interrupt, folks, but just a quick shout out for this week's sponsors, who are, as always, Ultimate Add-ons. Ultimate Add-ons have been back in the podcast for the last few years, and I've been using their products since probably around about 2017, 2018. They specialize in phone holders, so both the mounts that attach to your bike and the protective cases that your phone goes in. Now, these cases are shockproof, they're dustproof, they're the perfect things to put your phone in whilst you're on the bike. And even if you do have a mishap, your phone is nicely protected inside that case. You can still use the phone, you can still use the touchscreen, you can even still use the cameras. They do a wide selection of mounts. I use the ratchet strap, which is actually in their cycle section, but you can pick any one you like for your particular bike or a generic one. It's up to you. Ultimate Add-ons are also doing a number of other accessories, things like action camera mounts. They're also now doing heated grips. They do things like a balaclava, USB, USB-C, power adapters, lots of different things. Head to their website, check out the products, and if you use the code TeapotOne with the number 10, TeapotOne10, then you will get 10% off. A massive thanks to Ultimate Add-ons for all your support. And a massive shout out to all of you over in the clan, over on Patreons, patreon.com/TeapotOne. I literally could not do this full time without your support, folks. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for going that extra mile with your support. You're also the backbone of the Bru Time podcast with all your questions. So keep them coming and we'll go from strength to strength. I kind of think I'm finding this out, and I'm sure you are as well, that for me, it's a measure. It's a measure of a company how they handle criticism, and
Yeah.
and it has to be constructive criticism, isn't it? Because you can't just turn around and go, "That's shit." You know, like you have to
Yeah.
give feedback as to, like what you just said there. You know, you've obviously got a an established professional background and expertise in this line of work. So it's like, well,
Yeah.
you got to listen to the man when he's giving you feedback on this because he knows what he's talking about. Whereas if you just stand
Yeah.
there and go, well, that's crap, I really don't like that, and that's your feedback, I can understand why they dingy that. But yeah, for me, when companies go, okay, yeah, we take that on board. This is why we did it the way we've done it, but we can see
Yeah.
the benefits from maybe doing the way you're talking about, or the feedback we're getting from customers is this, we're going to go down this route. Then for me, it's like, okay, well, the company's listening, isn't it? It's listening to the
Yeah.
end user, and well, let's see
And
what
it's
happens.
constructive.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But there's definitely, it's maybe not so much the company, it's more the PR teams, isn't it? The marketing
Yeah,
teams.
it really is. There's a guy I follow on YouTube called Gerald Undone. I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you've
Mhm.
heard of
Yeah, I
him
like
or
his
if you follow.
channel.
Yeah, 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 Canadian photographer, massive
Yeah.
channel.
Mhm.
And I will not buy a professional camera for my line of work without seeing his review.
Yeah.
It's a bit like going to you guys when I want to buy a motorbike. I'll always check out your reviews first. So I go to this guy for camera reviews. And he has done a video fairly recently about this. And it turns out it's pretty much only Sony who do engage with people like
Mm.
Gerald
Mhm.
and Philip Bloom and a few others whose name escapes me at the moment. But it's only Sony actually who keep coming back and say, well, let us know how to improve this. Let us know what you want.
Yeah.
So they really do listen to the customers. You know,
Do you do you watch iPhone do? iPhone do
sorry,
is
you just
the
broke.
Do you watch iPhone do? So it's iPhone with do at the end of it. He's a
No,
Hungarian guy that lives out in LA now. Really, really good, very talented, creative guy. He's
I
right
will do.
into his music, but he does a lot of technical type vids, very much like Gerald Undone. You know, he goes into cameras and bits of kit and new technology and stuff like that. And he had a
Interesting.
really scathing vid on Insta 360, actually, in that he'd
All
given
right.
them feedback and they were, I think they were a little bit shitty with how they dealt with the feedback, and they were trying to tell him what he wanted, what he had to say in his vids, and they didn't like this negative stuff here, and can you maybe
Yeah,
focus on that rather than this? And he was just like, he just came out with a vid to people and just said, I've been asked to do this, but I'm not doing it.
yeah,
And this is
yeah,
what I think, and that's the way it should be.
yeah,
He does a lot of
yeah.
work with Sony as well, actually, funnily enough. But yeah, it was
And does he say
interesting to
good
hear.
things?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's moved. Like
Yeah,
everybody basically moved from Canon to Sony, didn't they? About what, maybe 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Seemed like all
yeah.
the big vloggers moved from Canon
That's right.
across to Sony. Yeah.
That's right.
Although Peter McKinnon, I've noticed, he seems to have
Love
gone
him.
back to Canon. Yeah, he's back to
Yeah.
Canon now, isn't he? Yeah.
He likes Fuji as well. So
Yes.
yeah, I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I love his channel. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, I love his style of videos as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And do you like
he,
Casey Neistat as well?
I love Casey. Yeah, in
Yeah.
fact, I there's oh my God, I came back on the worst flight ever last night from holiday. Did I mention I got in at 5 o'clock this morning? So apologies if the audio slips out, right? But Casey Neistat's video was one of the videos I downloaded to the
Mm.
phone to watch on the flight on the way home.
Mm.
But I had an absolute real terror of a flight last night. It was the absolute Ryan scare flight last night.
Really?
So the flight was yeah. So I no, I haven't seen the Casey Neistat video. Is do you know Stephen Bartlett from the
Yeah. Yeah.
Dragon's Den?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and he's got this podcast series called Diary of a CEO.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Well,
Listen to it.
I love the format. I love his guests, and so I was going to watch the Casey Neistat one last night on the flight. But the flight was delayed for 3 hours, first of all, because of turbulence on the previous couple of flights in and
Uh-huh.
out, which doesn't sit well with me because I've turned into a really terrible flyer since
Have you?
COVID. I don't know what it is, but it's really affecting me, And so this was making me very anxious. So we didn't take off until midnight last night, and we're all getting sat comfortably on the plane. And then the pilot says those immortal words. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to experience some light turbulence on the way
Oops.
home." Oh God, just don't even mention the word turbulence. So we're in the sky for an hour, right? And I'm thinking, this is great. I'm going to turn on the podcast now. Jesus.
Oh no.
It was like being in a feature film, right? Everybody sort of screaming and looking around. What's the first thing you do when you see or when you experience turbulence like that? Everybody looks at the air hostesses. These two air hostesses, God bless them, looked like they'd just come out of training college from Ryanair, right?
Oh
And
no.
they were looking at each other and didn't know what to do. So me, I was thinking, oh Jesus, I'm in a bad way here, right? So we're all strapped in, the airplane's all over the fucking sky. Like I'm sure I went weightless at one point out of the
Yeah.
seat, And the Osmo Pocket 3 is great when you're describing that because it follows you up and down. You see
It
that?
does, doesn't it?
So anyway, I don't mind that bitten. I'm terrified. Okay, and then there's a commotion going on. I was in row number 4. There's a commotion going on halfway down the plane, and then one of the young air hostesses goes on the phone, the PA, and
Yeah.
she asks if there's anybody with medical experience on board, if there's a doctor on board, and it was a pinch yourself moment, And I was thinking, are we ever going to get out of this? And I look around, not a single person puts their hand up. So I was thinking, it's hardly surprising with this amount of turbulence and terror on the aeroplane. Somebody's probably gone into cardiac arrest halfway down the
Mm.
plane. Now, I was with my wife and four kids, and we were all split up around the plane. We couldn't
Mm.
sit together. So I was just, out of my seat as everybody else was, now and again, just to try and see what was going on. I was out of the seats just to see if my kids were all right. So I did the head count. I could see my kids were all right. And I thought, okay, buckle up again. We'll try and get through this. Still nobody with medical experience on the plane. And then one of the other hostesses, she was running down with a sick bag. And I'm thinking, they're going to need more than a bloody sick bag if somebody's had cardiac arrest. This is all in my head, the cardiac arrest
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
I'm making
yeah.
all of this up because I'm so terrified. Half an hour later, we're out of the turbulence, and they're leading this 13-year-old, I'd say maybe he's 14-year-old lad down with his mother, and he just looked full of devilment, right? And then I'm thinking, if that's what the emergency was, I know exactly what's going on here, right? He was nearly smirking, I mean, the only thing wrong with this lad is that he needed to kick up the hole, not
Right.
a
Kick
doctor.
up the
You need
hole.
a bloody good kick up the hole. So they take him into the toilet to try and get sick or something like that, and he comes out. He looks as right as rain, and he's obviously pushing the boundaries, this lad, I reckon, just to see how far he could take this. And his
Mm.
poor mother, God bless her, she looked at the end of a tether, and I dare say it's not the first time she's experienced something like that with him. He really did look full of devilment. Anyway, emergency's over. The turbulence has stopped, and when we landed eventually at 5 o'clock this morning in Dublin, uh, they called an ambulance to come and meet this kid off the plane. Right now, so I'm sat in row four, so I'm seeing everything which is going on here. And the aeroplane door opens, no ambulance, because the ambulance has been diverted to another flight where there
Right.
is a proper medical emergency. And I heard the mother saying to the air hostesses, "Don't worry, he's all right. We don't need an ambulance. He's fine. He's fine." And I was thinking to myself, if he was my kid, he'd need a
Yeah.
fucking ambulance. All right, let me tell you, he'd need an ambulance man to take the shoe out of his hole. So
So was he just playing up for attention then? Is that all
he
it
was
was?
playing up. He was playing up, and I
You
thought at one
shite.
stage the plane was going to be diverted. Yeah,
Oh.
he was
Oh.
playing up. I could see. Listen, I got teenagers. I know that look. I know that look. Now, thankfully, none of my kids have done that one before. But
Yeah,
he'll
yeah.
tell his schoolmates that when he goes back to school after the summer holidays, the little brat. So,
What a wee cog.
yeah, yeah.
So this is it anxiety you've got then about flying?
Um, I don't know what it is. It happened over COVID.
Hmm.
I, I used to fly. This is the thing. So I haven't been to see anybody about this yet. I've often thought, is it because I know too much about it? I held a PPL in England for 7 years, many years
Hmm.
ago. I couldn't afford to keep it, which is why I gave it up. But then I went off and flew all sorts of weird and wonderful contraptions. And lately, up until about 10 years ago, I was flying in something called a paramotor, wing
Hmm.
above me head, engine on my
Yeah, yeah.
back. Used to mess about. And great crack, great fun. Had some terrible, terrible scares. And I vowed never to go flying again. There was one time I came out the sky so hard I was unconscious, and when somebody found me, I was literally 3 meters away from a lake. It
Jesus.
would have been curtains if I'd landed in the lake. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's stemmed from that, really. I don't know, but it's affecting my work because any sort of long haul trips now, I'm really having to think hard about it. In fact, here's another one. I'm doing Route 66,
Hmm.
as you probably know, in
Yes, can I
September.
ask you about that? Yeah.
And the flight to Chicago from Dublin is 7 hours, and I've really had to talk myself into doing this because I nearly cancelled the opportunity to do Route 66 because of the flight over there.
Wow.
And I dare say I'm probably going to maybe go and see a counsellor about it.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely irrational, illogic. I don't know where it's come from, and it's ridiculous when I think about it. So I can't even believe I'm talking about it. So
Well, I
as
mean,
long
a
as
lot
it's
of
just
people have
between
it, Paul.
you and me, I
A
know.
lot of people have it,
Yeah.
and I think a lot that it's either the airlines or airports. They have things in place now, don't they, to help people deal
They do.
with
They do.
anxiety around flying. I don't know what they
Yeah.
are, but they do have
Yeah.
things in place. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is.
When I went over on holiday with the family, they're all aware of it, of course, and they just keep me talking,
Mm.
and it's fine. It's just if I'm by myself, especially, it's bad.
God.
So I don't know. I will tackle it. I'll get over it, and it'll be grand. I mean,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, I'd just get pissed, and then everything would be fine. But I'm not
I
going to
just
do that with my
sleep.
family.
I
Yeah,
literally I sit down in a plane, and the second like I know that the door's shut, I'm not going to have to move anymore for people sitting beside me or whatever. Then
yeah.
that's it. I'm just gone. I'm asleep, and that's it. Fine, no
Well,
problem at all.
there was a woman 2 seats away from me last night doing the same thing as we
Yeah,
were literally out of our seats with the turbulence and bouncing around and screams and everything. This
yeah,
woman just slept all the way through it. She hadn't a
yeah.
clue what had gone on. So
These
I'd
things,
love to.
these things,
These are
AirPods.
especially the noise cancelling ones.
It's
These are like
exactly
one of
it.
the best inventions ever, aren't they?
Fantastic, isn't it? You don't hear
Yeah,
kids crying, you don't hear people talking, nothing. Just put noise cancelling on both. I put a
brilliant.
podcast in, fast asleep. Normally my own. I'll
Likewise.
just listen and I put myself to sleep. Job done.
Yeah,
Comatose.
when you watch a lot of these podcasts and the guest is asked, what do you think the best invention is over the last 10 years? Nearly everybody would say an iPhone, wouldn't it? To
Yeah,
me, it's these.
yeah,
It's these. It really is. So I'm on the ferry an awful lot over and back to England with work and whatever else. And just to block out the noise of the kids,
yeah.
the noise of, not on the Apple phones, the Android phones, that horrible ringtone when people get a message. And
Uh,
I can't even recall it. It's a really annoying little sort of ringtone when somebody's message comes through, and every Android phone seems to have this. And honest to God, it's like somebody sticking a knife in me back every time I hear one of these ringtones. So when
Joe,
I've
I
got my
don't.
AirPod,
So go.
you probably sleep all the way through that as well, do you?
Mate, I don't understand why anyone has like a ringtone, an audible noise on their phone anymore.
Yeah,
I just put it on silent and
likewise.
vibrate, and that's it. And it's like, why would you have a ringtone going out?
I
Just
know.
I feel it, and I've got the watch as well. I'm a full Apple boy, so if my
Yeah,
phone rings, my wrist is vibrating if I haven't got the phone on me. So why do I need the tone, the ringtone?
I know.
Anyway,
I
never
know.
mind.
It's so
And the other
bloody
thing that
annoying.
annoys
Yeah.
me, people that put their phone calls on loudspeaker and then like sit
What
on
is
the
that
train or
about?
whatever. I'm like, you
It,
inconsiderate,
it
rude twat.
it drives me insane. I often have to sort of check myself and wonder if this is all me. If I'm just becoming old and grumpy and
It's great, innit? I love
intolerant
it.
of people,
Yeah.
and yeah. But this is very reassuring to speak to yourself, Bruce, and to find out that somebody else is the same anyway.
They are brother from another mother, mate. I tell you, I'm the same. Really annoys me. I just think, why would you do that? What, like that? Just to me, that just shows blatant disregard for anybody else. That's all I think. I just think
Absolutely.
you rude, self-obsessed twat.
100%, 100%, yeah. And
Anyway,
and I'd
right?
and I'd love to have the balls,
Yeah,
Maybe if I was your size, I would I could do it to go up to somebody and explain how inconsiderate they're being. But no, I'd probably get a bloody good thumping if I tried it.
oh, my wife will. My wife will literally stand up, turn around, and just stare at them. Like
Really,
it makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm just like, oh God, oh no. She's like, no,
I
she's gonna
love
go and
it,
pick a fight.
love it, love
Yeah.
it.
Right, questions, mate.
Brilliant.
Let's crack on with these
All
questions.
right.
So, first of all, we'll go across to the clan over on Patreon, patreon.com/teapot1. First one, Louise Worsfold. How you doing, Louise? Evening all. Dave, you are allowed to go back and speak to yourself from 3 years ago for 5 minutes. What advice are you giving yourself? Not just with motorbikes and YouTube, but life in general. Ooh, that's a good one. And I'm glad that's to you.
Oh God Almighty. Right. The thing I can think of is that uh, I understand what Louise is saying, not just about motorbikes and whatever else, but actually, when I started my YouTube channel 4 years ago, I made a promise to myself when I was 50 years old that it was going to be true to me,
Hmm.
which I hadn't really done before. I'd always convinced myself that I liked my own company, and I didn't.
Mm.
I'd always convinced myself that I was good at this when I wasn't. So around the same time, like I say, when I was starting the YouTube channel, I thought to myself, I'll give it a year and I'll be me. And I've got to be honest with me as well. And if I don't like me, if I don't like what I'm doing, I'll pack it in. I've wasted so much time over the years in my life doing things not to fit in, because I was never one of those, but trying to maybe be better than my capability.
Oh, you just froze. And we're also sponsored by the Influencer Store. Now, I've got some blurb to read out for them. The Influencer Store helps you build your brand, big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea and a design, and there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. Now, all my current merch over at TeapotOne.com, that is all handled by Roger and Charlotte and their family over at the Influencer Store. So thank you for all your support. And lastly, a big shout out to all of you who are either watching a podcast or listening just now on your platform of choice. If you can share with your mates, tell people about the podcast and help spread the word. That really does help. And if you're listening on things like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you can follow and leave a review or rating, 5-star is preferable, of course, then that would be absolutely fandabidosi. All right, folks, let's get back to the podcast. Oh, you're back. You're back. Elon,
Oh, I don't
move that
believe it.
satellite.
Oh God, I was nearly contacting Elon's solicitor there. Did you lose any of the audio, or could you still hear me?
No, the audio went for a little bit as well. So we'd got to, you're giving it a year. You're going to
Yeah,
be true to yourself.
yeah.
Boom.
So back to Louise's question, really is the only advice I would have given myself. I think that was the question, wasn't it?
It is,
Rather
yeah,
than
yeah.
change the advice,
Yeah.
yeah. I wish I'd been true to myself a lot earlier on,
All right,
basically,
okay.
and I would have saved wasting a lot of time doing shit that I really wasn't good at.
Right. So
So,
why do you think you weren't true to yourself then? Were you trying to portray an image of yourself that you wanted people to see, or was it something that you thought people wanted that from you?
a
Does
bit
that
of
make
both,
sense?
really.
Bit of both.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
does. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and definitely a bit of both.
yeah.
I always love when I'm away with the crew, so to speak, and if we're away on assignment filming, I always love being the one in the bar telling the stories, the one on the piano, the
Yeah.
one trotting out a few songs, whatever, and back in the younger days, I might have been able for that, but. Time moves on. I should really move on sometimes, I think, with different scenarios. I don't know, maybe I'm just holding on to things like a typical old fart tries to do, but I'm just trying to think of the presenting thing on YouTube, when I made my first half dozen videos, it was absolute. I couldn't watch myself. I couldn't listen to myself because I was trying to present. I wasn't being
Yeah.
true to anybody watching me, and I wasn't being true to myself because it
Yeah.
wasn't me.
Yeah.
They all went in the bin, and I nearly packed in the whole YouTube blog before I even started it, really. And it was only when my wife said, why are you trying to be a presenter?
Uh-huh.
Why are you trying to be Clarkson? Stop it. You're not,
Yeah.
So when I went out as Dave, and just, I think doing what we do, we're all storytellers, and I've always considered myself as a storyteller. I think that's one quality, one skill I do
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And so when I just went out and forgot about trying to present and just told the story, which I think the first video I ever did was about my FGR 1300. And I
Mm-hmm.
just, rather than trying to review it,
Mm-hmm.
because I knew I'd only just got into bikes. And there were people who, well, people like yourself who've been biking all their lives. You're not going to watch some 50-year-old lad who's just set up a YouTube channel with his first motorbike again in 30 years, trying to tell everybody else about this bike. So rather than trying to present like that, my first video was just, okay, I'll change the dynamic of all of this. I'll be true to me, true
Mm-hmm.
to the viewer, and just say what I'm thinking about the bike
Mm-hmm.
rather than trying to present the bike. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
little scenarios like that. And it's really stood strong to me over the last 4 or 5 years. In fact, this is quite deep, this now. I've often thought to myself, I wish I was the same person I am now 30 odd years ago, because I would have
Mm.
liked myself an awful lot more. Because when I think back of the way I was, trying to put the face on, I suppose there's a little bit of that in everybody. But I don't know, maybe you hit a certain age where you say to yourself, you just don't give a shit anymore.
I think
Um,
age is a big part of that, isn't it? It's that
yeah,
experience and not so much confidence, but maybe inner contentment. You kind of you get to a stage, don't you, where you're just like, right, do you know what? I'm me, and this is who I am. You can't Billy bollocks. You can't bullshit about you
that's
forever,
it.
can you? And
That's it.
like
That's it.
I just kind of take the attitude that if I try and be somebody else or lie about anything, at some
Yeah,
point I'm going to trip myself up and somebody out there will notice. And the
yeah,
second
dead right.
someone can turn around to you and go, "You're full of shit, and this is why you're full of shit," bang, here's the evidence.
Yeah,
You are
that's right.
foobarred now, aren't you? It's like your integrity's gone.
Yeah,
So it's just, well, what's the point of risking that? Just be yourself. Just be you.
yeah,
And those that like you will be attracted to you. They'll want to spend time in your company, whether that's through videos or personally or whatever it is. You're never going to
yeah,
please everybody, are you? There's plenty of people out there that think I'm a complete cockwomble. My wife half the time as well, but you'll also attract people who do like you, and they're the ones that
yeah,
they're the ones that you want to surround yourself with, isn't it? And they're the ones, for me, they're the ones, my community that's attracted to me as in who I am.
mm,
They're the people that I enjoy spending time with and I enjoy interacting with. And, when they give you feedback on stuff or criticism on stuff, you listen to that and you go, right, okay, okay, maybe I do need to try it from this angle or from that angle, or I haven't thought about that point of view that you've just given me about that bit of kit or that bike. Okay, make a note. I'll have to keep
dead
that in
right.
mind for the next one. Yeah.
Dead
Yeah.
right. I think ultimately it was YouTube who taught me that lesson.
Mm.
But I've taken that lesson and I've listened to that lesson and I use it right throughout my life now.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I'm just me.
Yeah.
I'm a very happy 54-year-old guy, to be honest. And 10 years ago, I'm not sure I could have said I was a happy 44-year-old.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because yeah. But YouTube has been incredible for me since I started this when I was 50 years old. It. I know this is cliche, but it has changed my life,
Mm.
and without doubt, categorically, it's made me a better person. And the other thing, one of the qualities I've always prided myself with is that I can smell bullshit.
Hmm.
It comes from doing what I do, and I'm sure it's the same with yourself being in the police force.
Hmm.
When you're meeting people all day long, you get an uncanny knack of smelling people before you've even met them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and I would hate to think that anybody, the way I think about other people sometimes, I would hate to think that anybody was thinking that about me. And I'm sure over the years many did, because they didn't really know the real person
Aye.
underneath the facade,
Yeah.
But now everybody in my life who I come into contact with gets the real person anyway.
Yeah, definitely. You kind of
God, that was deep.
But it is though, and YouTube and social media, it is a huge part of just about everybody's life now. There's almost everybody out there is on social media of some form, whether that's
Mm.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I mean YouTube, whatever it is that there's countless other things out there. I can't keep track of everything anymore. But
Mm.
there's no hiding anymore, is there? If you put yourself out there, like especially in video format, it's out there,
Yeah.
and there's as soon as you hit publish, that's it. It's out there. It's in the public domain. No
Yeah.
hiding. It's out there forevermore, isn't it?
That's
And
it.
what's more,
That's it.
people can do what they like with that.
I know.
You've lost
I
the
know.
control with it. It's gone. It's out there, and you take that risk because, I think there is a little bit of I think there has to be a little bit of narcissism in there to an extent because well, I certainly do. You want people to like you. You want people to enjoy what you're put. Maybe that's not narcissism, but I put content out there because I want folk to enjoy the content I'm creating. I want people to be inspired to travel, to get on a bike, go somewhere, to try a
Like,
bit of kit. Like you want people to get something from your stuff, don't you?
yeah.
You want to have an impact
Uh,
on them to whatever level.
100%. If you didn't think like that, I'm sure you wouldn't do it.
Mm,
If you, yeah, that is the underlying message with most of us, I would have thought, for doing
yeah,
this YouTube thing. I'm certainly not doing it for the money.
mate, tell me about it. Yeah, I was watching watch one of your vids a couple of weeks ago, the one where you said changes in life.
Yeah,
You were thinking about, changing directions in the channel and all this sort of stuff. And I totally,
that's exactly where this is coming from. Yeah,
yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. I've done a couple of them myself, I think, over the last year or two. It's a culmination of things, isn't it? And that you put yourself out there, you sort of lay yourself bare on the channel, and sometimes you feel nobody's watching. Like
Mm.
I look at some of the other stuff on YouTube within the motorcycle sector. I look at vids and I just think, what's the difference between that and any of the stuff I've put out? And then you start comparing, don't you? You look and you go, Jesus, you've got 100,000, 150,000 views, or, you know,
Yeah,
hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And, you just
yeah,
think, well, why have you got that? And this has only got this. And like, I'm sure you must, with your technical background, you must look at some footage and go, well, like the technical aspect of their footage is shot. Basically, I've tried the professional style with filters and my frame
yeah,
rates and ISO and everything like that, and I'm totally out my depth. So it looks horrendous. I just whack it on auto now. I just leave it on auto, and that's what most
yeah.
people do, I'm sure. But you listen to some folks'
Absolutely.
audio, and like their audio peaks and there's pops, and you
I
obviously
know.
take great pride in what you do, and you can see in the videos that you produce, the tutorial style vids that you do. You're thinking
Yeah,
about, like the gain levels and mics being too hot, and you're explaining all this to people. You watch some of the big channels, and you're like, they either don't care or they don't know, because like the technical aspects of it and the editing, you just think there's nothing big about this. Why is it so popular? And then it makes
I
you
know.
think, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's me. Maybe they just don't like me, don't they? So it's really
I,
introspective, isn't it? It really makes you look at
it,
yourself.
it really is because you do question everything, and you're
Aye.
dead right. Now, I had to get over that production level sort of thing with other people going out, like you say, and crap audio and everything. When you see some of these garage videos and
Yeah.
the cameras on the other side of the garage, and
I
they're
do it
using
now.
the inbuilt mic.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It's just I can't watch some of the stuff that I turn
Yeah.
on, but it comes down to one thing, Bruce, and I'm sure you'll agree: content is king.
Seems to
You
be,
know,
yeah.
if somebody's explaining a really intricate part of how to find something on a motorbike in the garage, you'll
Mm.
do your best to try and listen through the shite
Yeah.
audio
True.
to hear that. And so ultimately that's what it comes down to, and that's why I'm constantly trying to pare down without. I don't think it's. I'd love to find the secret to keep production level, to keep that quality, but pare down the amount of kit I take out on the road with me, especially if I go away on one of these mini tours that I do. Now, as a rule, I don't take the drone out anymore unless I'm going away for a few days on a mini tour, or unless I'm going to see something really scenic. In fact, I've got a video going out next. No, I don't. Sorry, that's already been out. Forgive me. But what I'm saying is, very rarely I'll take the drone now, unless it's a tour where I think it's going to really benefit from that production quality. But when you see some videos, I just have to get over it now. And at the end of the day, listen, if it's working for them, who am I to say anybody's doing anything wrong?
Exactly.
They're not.
Like Andy, TMF,
in fact, it's me who's doing it wrong.
100%.
So,
I'm exactly the same, mate. I am exactly the same. I used to spend, Jesus, I mean, in editing, I used to spend minimum 5 days, and they were like 15 to 18-hour days editing constantly, and I was trying to get the transitions to be almost not seamless, but if things like if it was jumping, if I was doing a piece to camera like this, and say I jumped from one angle to the next, I'm trying to line up the level where the eye level is on each shot, because apparently that subconsciously to the viewer, when they look, it makes it easier for them to deal with, because they're already like, at the moment I'm looking straight into your eyes, so if I change the camera angle, you want to be looking straight into your eye. I don't want to have to adjust my vision to look in your eyes again, all little things like that. And then you try and do, so go on.
No. Well, the key to that, because I see this used quite a bit. In fact, Adam Reeman, the Australian guy, his production levels, through the roof. It's incredible. But
Motology, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, Motology is the channel. Yeah, incredible channel, and I just love everything he does. But there's one. This sounds terrible, but it's only because I've been trained in this for the last 35 years. I've been a cameraman.
This is what I mean about the things you'll notice.
Yeah. So, and he uses that multi-camera thing when he's sitting down at the end of the day with the bike behind him and he's having a cup of tea or something. And he cuts from looking over there to looking up there. And it's a great little technique. But the one thing he doesn't know how to do, listen to me telling Adam Reeman he doesn't know how to do something, it's to change the size of the shot. So if the shot he had looking up there was on a tight shot, and the shot he had looking down there was on a wide shot, it makes the editing absolutely seamless. And it flows beautifully. But when you cut from two different size shots, it's what's called a jump cut, and it just jars. So even when I'm watching Adam Reeman's videos, which I would consider some of the best out there on YouTube, something still jars with me, So I'm never going to be happy. So what were you saying about Andy there?
Oh yeah, and Andy has always, as long as I've known Andy, like face to face, we've sort of known each other since about 2018, I think, the first time we sort of met up. And he's always not laughed, but he was just like, I literally he used to take a camera out and his phone, and I think he's gone back to that now. But he says, I just do that. And he said, I have the most basic knowledge going of editing and sound. And his channel's got 260 odd thousand views. And he says, if I spend 5 or 6 hours on an edit, well, that's quite a long time. And I was like pulling,
brilliant.
All my hair's gone, obviously, but I was going nuts because I'm like, I'm not my fucking pan in here. And I'm trying to think of all these, like what you should do as an editor and all this. I'm doing all that, and I'm taking loads of cameras out away with me, and I was getting a handful of views. And he's just like, just make it simple. Keep it simple.
Andy's got the right idea. In fact, I'm putting together a series of talks, which I'm going to be going out on the road with next year into colleges and shows, festivals and that sort of thing. And it's a series of talks on how to manage your workflow. So everything from how to frame a shot, because the whole world is shooting content now, really,
Yeah.
on their phones, but nobody's been trained how to do
No.
it. So things which you or Andy or myself might take for granted because we've been at it for a while, a lot of people just don't know the fundamental basics. And you can see this happening a lot on YouTube. So that sort of got me thinking, only because people was sort of contact me saying, do you do like courses, or
Mhm.
is there any chance I could pay and come to see and spend a couple of days with you and that sort of thing. So that got me thinking maybe I should just put a few talks together. So that's hopefully one of the plan. Well, it is a plan for next year. That is going to happen because it's underway at the moment.
Awesome.
So just talking about literally the basics, from how to frame a shot to editing workflow, how to make those little cuts seamless,
Yeah.
like what I was
Yeah.
talking about. I mean, one of the other things, I don't know if you've noticed this. I hope you have, and I hope you don't do it. I'm just thinking that as I'm saying, is when you're jumping from shot to shot and you're just using the audio from shot to shot. Because we
Oh,
ride motorbikes, there's a
oh,
big, there's
clicks and all that.
the
Oh,
clicks. It's the click. It's the fecking click, Bruce.
yeah.
So you know exactly what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
yeah.
The
You've got to overlap it or crossfade it or do something, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
does it.
So nobody does it. And it takes 2 seconds to do it in the
Oh
edit.
man.
And it just makes it so much more watchable. I don't know why people just don't Google how to do it, because
Hang on.
whatever editing
Two,
platform you're doing.
2 seconds to do. Hang on. What are you doing then? Because when these all these little final bits of the
Yeah,
edit, it's
yeah.
probably a day for me to blur speed, to do all the audio transition, like crossfades, all that sort of stuff, the bleeds in
Well,
with the audio. How
well,
do you do it?
I'm going to give the viewers a little tip now, because I'm sat in front of my editing keyboard here at the computer. So I'm using Final Cut Pro
Yeah,
to
that's
do
what I
that
use.
instant mix between two sound clips. You just, with your mouse or your trackpad, just draw a little box around the two audio segments, and then you press on an Apple computer Option and T, and
Yeah.
that blends it automatically, blends the two sound clips together, and that's it. Less than 2 seconds.
But is that not like does it not just adding a crossfade onto it?
Yes, yes, a
So have
crossfade
you
only to the audio, only to the audio.
so
So
have you
the visuals is something else, but it stops the click.
Yeah, I mean, I do all that manually. I
Are
basically,
you there? Have you gone? Oh,
no,
fucking
I'm
hell.
here.
Elon Musk, you're in trouble.
I can see you and hear you fine. Can you not see and hear me?
All right. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Oh, maybe it's your Wi-Fi. I feel
it
better
is.
now.
I've just had a message come up saying mine's unstable.
Ah,
Sorry
brilliant,
about
brilliant, brilliant.
that. Yeah, the way I do it is I detach all my audio. I use Final Cut, so I detach my audio, and then
Yeah.
I always if it's in like stereo, then I'll convert it to dual mono once I've like if I'm using I'll use two different channels if I'm recording the comms chat, because I'll have my mic on one channel and the comms chat on another channel, and then
Yeah.
normalize the audio and do all that spiel. Then I bunch it back into a dual mono file, and then I just highlight all the audio files, and then I just apply a crossfade to it, a crossfade transition to it, which I think is option T. But on mine, that's all one. I think it's a second. It's all 1 second sort of length crossfade, and I then have to highlight each individual crossfade and change the duration
Oh,
to 20 frames. I normally go either 15 to 20 frames, but then I have to listen to it because sometimes you get a bit of bleed from one audio to another, don't you? It's, particularly if I'm
yeah, yeah,
talking, if I'm talking away and then I decide, right, I'm just going to stop the audio there, but the actual audio file, that's just me taking a breath, and then I start talking about something else after it. Well, when you cut the audio file and you apply the transitions, sometimes,
that's right.
5 or 6 frames of the next bit come in. So I have to listen to it
Yeah,
because that really hacks me off if I can hear the audio transit,
yeah.
the contamination there.
Likewise, likewise. The,
So option T.
there, so there are so many ways to do that quicker.
Right.
Obviously, I won't go into it now because we'll be here for.
'Cause it'll be
Like,
on
can
your
you imagine
course.
if the whole yeah, yeah, exactly. If the whole podcast was about how to crossfade audio,
I'll tell you what, there'll be people out there that'll be really interested.
that would look. Yeah, I know.
I
Yeah,
get asked all the time if I do tutorial vids on editing, but
yeah.
I thought about doing a course and all sorts, but I just haven't got the bloody time. It's just I can hardly edit a
this is it,
video.
and this is why I'm actually going to go out to places and do this and stand in front of a class and
Yeah.
teach people how to do this,
Mm.
because to make the videos I don't have the time as well. And obviously now I've thought about this, about doing a video online course, and it's just impossible to monetize that. So if I actually physically stand in front of a class or at a festival or a road show, whatever, at least I'll get paid for my time there. To monetize sort of masterclass videos, it's
Yeah.
impossible. This is actually, I wouldn't say a victim of my own success here, but this was a problem last year. I did a few masterclass videos about the new technology like the Osmo Action
Mhm.
4s,
Yeah.
the mics, the wireless mics, all that sort of stuff. And whilst I don't mind answering a few questions, it became a bit too much, to be
Yeah. You
honest.
get
And
inundated, don't you?
and I had to draw a line. So now I say that all of that information, if you want to tap into me for the 35 years of camera expertise, if you like, I'll give that to the Patreons
Mm. Yeah.
of the
Good idea.
channel,
Yeah. Good idea.
and they can tap into me anytime they want for anything they want like that, and
Yeah.
I've no problem at all. But recently I had somebody who sort of contacted me on a Sunday, and I sent him the message back and did the quick fix on an email, and then he wanted to know this and wanted to know that. On a Sunday, a day off, like I was there for a
Mm.
few hours responding to him and trying to find what he was looking for and all that sort of stuff. And he didn't so much buy me a coffee at the end of it,
Mm. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
actually, I think I might have mentioned that in that video you
Yeah. You
spoke
did.
about,
Yeah.
which you
Yeah.
watched. It's just trying to manage it all without seeming like you want to piss people off.
Mm.
You know, yeah,
It's weird, isn't it? I mean, that's
it's a
probably
juggling
one of
act.
the criticisms that hurts the most is when people just turn around and like they accuse you're just doing it for the money, and you're
Yeah,
sellout just because you might recommend something, or you might do a like a sponsored ad, or you might mention a company that sent you some, like I just
yeah.
did with Insta, you've done with DJI. You'll get people just turning around and go, oh, you're a sellout, blah 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 blah, and you're just like, oh, God,
Mm.
really? Like, really? If
I
if you
know,
wanted
I
to
know.
sell out, there's a lot of ways of
But
making money on YouTube, isn't there? But
yeah,
like,
yeah,
geez,
exactly. But you just can't win. If
no.
you wanted to sell out, I'd be setting up an OnlyFans, not a YouTube channel. So, no,
I'll not ask
I,
what would be on your OnlyFans.
oh, I've got some great ideas. Now
Mm.
that I've got Elon Musk's Wi-Fi, I can set up an OnlyFans. I can download that. I don't even know the bloody names of them. That's how old I am.
Of course you don't. Of course you don't.
Yeah.
Right here,
Exactly. Yeah.
we've been an hour and we've answered half of one question.
Oh, Christ. Okay.
Right, Louise has got a
It was the
second
same the
question.
last time, I think, wasn't it?
I think it was. Yeah. Louise has got a second question. Question for you both. What one thing that you have said you're going to do but haven't done do you regret not having done the most? Okay.
You go first.
Hmm. Well, I keep saying this. I don't like to have regrets because whatever decision I've made in life has sent me down a course to get me where I currently am. And I just kind of think, I, I, I kind of think what's meant for you won't go by you. You know what I mean? It's like eventually what's meant for you in life is going to come your way as long as you keep being true to yourself, you'll get what is coming your way. Whether that's good or bad, it's coming. There's no hiding from it. There's no getting away from it. So, do I regret?
Yeah, I like that.
What thing have you said you're going to but haven't done yet? Do you regret having not done the more? Well, if I say I'm going to do something and I've not done it yet, that's not me saying it's never going to happen. That's just, it's going to happen, but now's not the time. Like the one that I mention all the time on here is I've said I'm going to cycle around the UK. I'm going to cycle around the UK. I'm not in a position financially. I'm not in a position in the home life at the moment where I can just foxtrot Oscar for what will probably be 4 to 6 months realistically for me to get my fat ass around the UK. So
Yeah.
it's just not feasible at the moment, but it will fucking happen. It's going to happen. And I kind of think that
Mm.
about most things, like the original route I was going to do for the round the world trip. Yes, I have been around the world. Again, there's those places that I've not been to. Well, in my mind, I'm going to go back. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to India. I'm going to get to Ushuaia. I'm going to get to Dead Horse. I'm going to do them at some point. It's just not feasible at the moment.
Mm.
So I don't
Mm.
really have regrets. What about yourself?
Good answer. Good answer. Right. I think well, you pretty much answered half of my thing that I was thinking of as well. Just because I haven't done it yet doesn't mean to say that I won't. Like one of the
Hmm.
things on my bucket list is to actually join a male voice choir.
Oh,
And
wow.
just because I haven't done it yet doesn't mean to say that I won't. I'd
Yeah.
love to do that, probably when I retire. If there's ever such a thing in this world now as retiring. But that's one of the things that I will get around to doing. I think as a dad of four kids, I've said since the first one was born, I must make more time for the kids.
Mm.
And if I'm totally honest, I have that haunting regret. And I do beat myself up about it from time to time because I've spent life on the road providing
Mm.
really, and there was a stage 10 years ago where I'd arrive home on Christmas Eve, and my wife would have the whole house decorated, all the presents bought, the kids all hyped up for Christmas, and I
Yeah.
would just come into the house like a visitor and spend
Yeah. Yeah.
Christmas
Yeah.
for 2 weeks
Yeah.
and then be off again. But beggars can't be choosers, and
Hmm.
somebody has to pay for the life we have. And
Yeah.
fortunately, the kids know that it's all they've ever known, and they do appreciate it. And weirdly, we were having this conversation recently because well, my eldest laddie now is 22 years old. He's going strong with his girlfriend who joined us on holiday there.
Mm.
And I'm sort of asking them what their intentions are, and any sort of patter of tiny feet coming along anytime soon and that sort
22,
of
eh?
stuff. Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
yeah. But I've always said, because of me beating myself up about spending so much time away from my kids and not giving them the time that I said I would. I've always said I'll make a much better grandfather than I would a father.
I was going to say,
And
Grandad Dave, yeah. You're looking for that
I
time now. Yeah, I get
I
that.
really am. Can you imagine?
I,
And
I sympathise with you totally
I'll
there,
definitely
yeah.
pour more time into that. Yeah. So,
I'm kind of the
so
same, in that I've just gone through and said I don't have regrets. I do have one, and that is that, like things didn't work out with my son's mum and I made the choice to leave, and I've always felt guilty about denying my son the sort of upbringing that I had. Like my mum and dad stayed together. They argued like cat and dog, but they stayed
yeah,
together, and I had that stable background. But then, you know, my son's mum met her now husband, who's fantastic, and he's a fantastic stepdad and role model for my son. And I've met Nikki, and she's the love of my life, and I've got this life down here. Again, what's meant for you won't go by you, will it? But it does
that's
stick
dead
in my
right.
mind that I just think, oh, I wish I've missed out in being there as the everyday father figure for my boy, and he's
Yeah.
not had me as that. So I do feel guilty about that. That's what that is a regret. But again,
I
if
can
we'd stayed
understand
together
that.
just for that, it could have been a horrific home life for the boy, couldn't it?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So no, no, so much better the way it worked out. I
yeah,
always find this incredible. You just said, well, you've just implied that you get on with your ex-wife's new husband.
yeah, we go for a beer together. It's, yeah,
I think this is absolutely incredible. I mean, there's a
yeah.
reason I live in a different country. All of my ex-girlfriends have wanted to kill me, like to behead me, and I literally had to move
All right,
country to get
oh
away
yeah.
from that. And then when I married my Irish wife, she had three of her ex-boyfriends at a wedding. And all great guys, all lovely guys. Like, obviously, yeah, I didn't meet the the right girl until I met this one, of course.
Obviously,
Yes.
obviously. Well rescued, Dave. Well rescued.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
It's a good question, that, Louise. Well, both good
Very
questions.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Next
very
one,
good.
Moist Decoy. How you doing, Moisty? Hi, both. Sorry, technical question for you both. Do you ever film in D-Log? And if you do, what are your thoughts on color grading? Can you be arsed? Tried it once. I'll never do
Yeah.
it again. Just,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sure you
Yeah.
will. Like, if you want the full-on if you want the full-on cinematic experience with the real high production values, D-Log's obviously the way to go. But it just adds, for me, it just adds so much more time to the edit. And what's the end result for the sort of stuff I produce? You know, the payoff's not there really for me.
Yeah, I sort of echo that really for you for the YouTube videos when I'm shooting. I mean, obviously, broadcast is all shot in D-Log now.
Yeah.
So I shoot D-Log all the time, but it's great at the end of the day because I just copy the footage onto a hard drive and let the editors and the color grading specialists do the rest of it. But for me to have the time when I'm already trying to cut down the time on producing YouTube videos, I think I tried it when I did the Connemara series. I think I shot that in D-Log, but the Osmo Action 4 records in its standard inbuilt color in 10-bit now. So, and the difference between 8-bit and 10-bit is something like 16 million colors compared to over 1 billion colors. So you can still shoot with a full color profile in an Osmo Action 4. And because it's 10-bit, you can still manipulate it ever so finely. And, if your skies are blown out, you can still bring them back because all of the information is there. So I wouldn't bother me bollocks, to phrase an Irish saying. I wouldn't bother me bollocks shooting in D-Log for YouTube anyway. And I'm not sure at the end of the day everybody's looking at it on a computer screen or a phone, well, mainly, and then so depending on what they're looking at, you're never going to get the true effect of what you've just color graded, spending all that time because everybody's screen's going to be set to different parameters as well.
Yeah.
So no,
Yeah.
Broadcast, yes. YouTube, no.
Yeah, absolutely. But Moisty, but that being all said, make the content you want to make, mate. So if you want to spend a month on a vid and you want that vid to be the best possible thing you can produce, do that.
Yeah.
Chuck it out.
Yeah.
And you'll attract, sounds corny, you'll attract your tribe. You'll attract the community that like you and your vids. And if they're used to one vid coming out every 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, however long it takes, then they'll wait. You know what I mean? You're not going to get the explosive growth of someone that's punting out 2, 3, 4 vids a week. But, you will definitely have people that are invested in you and your channel for sure. Anyway, second one, if you had a month to travel anywhere and the cost wasn't a problem, where would you go? Cheers both. Keep up the most excellent vids. A month to travel anywhere.
Well, you've pretty much done that anyway, haven't you?
Yeah, but there's so many places I've missed out, man. There really are. A month. I mean, I could go back to places I've been and spend a month.
Yeah.
But there's so many places I've not been that I want to see. I really want to go Mongolia. I'm gutted I missed that out on my trip. So Mongolia's there for sure.
Did you go to Vietnam?
No, I didn't. No, I did Laos, but I didn't. You could at the time, and I'm sure it's still the same. You can't bring big bikes in. I think 125cc was the biggest, or maybe 250cc was the biggest. So you couldn't. In fact, I don't think you could import Western bikes into Vietnam at that point. So I got to Laos, but that was as far across as I could go. I had to sort of miss out Vietnam after that. But I'd like to do Nepal. Who's just been to Nepal? Someone's
And Andy Riemann, wasn't it?
No, I'll tell you who it was. Oh, good God, why have I forgotten? The guy on the German chap has been on the podcast that's on an electric bike, Eve, at the moment. What's he called? Young German chap who's traveling around the world on an electric motorbike. He's in Nepal now on the electric bike, and it looks... I'm so sorry, I've forgotten his name. Oh, If you're watching or listening, I'm
That
so sorry.
it's that
What's his
age
name?
thing again, Bruce.
I was chatting to him today or yesterday on DMs. Oh, I've forgotten.
That hole's getting bigger, Bruce.
Sheesh. But yeah, Nepal. Nepal's definitely somewhere I want to go and see. Mongolia, I
Mm.
definitely want to go and see. There's so many. What about yourself?
Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vietnam,
Okay.
without a doubt. I loved the people, I loved the food, I loved the scenery, and I was never there on a bike. I was
Uh-huh.
there filming. I'd love to go back. As with all of these places I go to in a filming capacity, we dive in and we jump out. You know, we shoot, we go there, we shoot what we have to shoot, and then we're gone again. And I never spend any time
Mm.
anywhere for myself, just because of the nature of the beast. So I'd love to go, and I've made a list over the years, a mental list of the places I'd love to go back to most, and especially over the last 4 years, places I'd love to go back to with a motorbike. And Vietnam is absolutely top of the list. I was knocked out by that place, and I'd love to go exploring. And that stuff Andy Riemann does. Why do I keep talking
Mm.
about him? I haven't
But
got
it's
a
good.
man crush on him or anything like that. But that that the nature of his videos, I'd love to do something like that in
Yeah.
Vietnam. So yeah,
He
if I could afford it, I'd be back there like a shot.
he encapsulates, I think, so much of what biking is about to me. You know, he's got the travel side of it. He's got the therapy side of it as well. You know, just the way the bloke
Yeah,
chats about stuff. He's got
yeah,
a really good way of conveying what he's thinking, what he's feeling, why he's doing something, what he's experiencing
yeah.
as he's going through. It's just, and as you said, it's
Amazing.
incredibly well shot and edited, isn't it? I mean, how
Yeah,
many
and
people
it's
does he take
beautiful. Yeah.
away with him? Can't just be him.
It is. It's just him, and
How does
he
he get all
even
these
has the
shots?
drone. So he has the drone. He has the controller on his tank bag, and he's got the drone. He uses the Mini 4 Pro,
Hmm.
the DJI Mini 4 Pro, and he's got the controller on his tank bag, and he just puts the box around himself on the screen,
A
on the
tracker.
follow me mode. Yeah, and that's what he's doing there. But the amount of times, I mean, even in one of his latest videos I was watching, his journey up to the ABR festival,
Hmm.
even the way he shot that, when you see the low angle shot from the camera on the ground, with him approaching the camera and going through the puddle, he's obviously already done that and been through the puddle and thought to himself, do you know what? That'd make a great shot. So
Hmm.
he's constantly thinking pictures and
Yeah.
sound, and then he's going back. He's setting the camera up. He's going back down the track and then coming back just to get the shot. So the amount of time and effort, I mean, I'm sure a trip would take, the way he does it would take 3 times
Mm.
longer than what it should do, really, because of the amount of stopping and starting. To be honest, I'm not sure I'm built for anything like that. I'm sure
I
after a
know.
few days I'd think, oh, I can't be asked. I just want to get to the ABR festival now.
Yeah, I've done that a handful of times, I think, over the
Yeah,
Jesus 14 years that I've been doing bloody vids. A handful of times where I've set a camera up for a shot and I've maybe
yeah,
done, in one vid, I think the most I've probably ever had is maybe three. You know what I mean? And like you look at a lot of these other people's his in particular,
yeah.
and the amount of time that must take for one vid. There's got to be like 2 dozen extra shots that he's
I know.
making and taking, and you just think
Yeah,
that's incredible. The payoff is plainly there because the end result, and the end result is
mm,
going to be so much better, don't you? And even with
yeah,
the editor hat on, you're like, yo, that will just make editing so much easier, transitioning between different shots and stuff. But at
yeah,
the time, I'm exactly like you. I'm just like, I can't be arsed. I've got to get there.
yeah,
So you just
yeah,
soldier on, don't you? And I
yeah.
need to do
And
more of that.
and and you know another thing with me as well, and this becomes purely from being a cameraman. That's
Mm,
my thing, being out shooting the stuff. So editing is the weakest part of my game,
mm,
if you like. So when I get back home and I know I've got amazing footage or I've been able to convey a great story, when I'm really happy with the footage, to then know that I've got to spend a day or however long putting it together, just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
Jesus, I can't be arsed now. I need somebody else to do this bit.
yeah,
So
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's a shame because I know if I had a really good editor with some of the footage I've brought back, the piece would be 3 or 4 times better than what it's actually.
Mm,
But I just can't wait to get it out the door and then upload it
yeah.
and gone. So
I,
yeah,
I've kind of,
I'm going to have to retrain myself.
I've, I had my son doing some of my editing this year. You
I
know,
heard you saying that. Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
heard you
he
saying
picked up
that.
the editing sort of about March, April time. He started, so I think he's probably done about 6, 7, maybe 8 vids for me this
And
year.
how did that work out?
But he's so much quicker than I am. He's insanely quick. He's a professional editor, so he's way quicker at producing the stuff. But
Oh, is that what he does when he says he's a professional editor? Does he do that for
mhm,
a living?
yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
he literally, at age 16 from school, he got sort of approached by this new company in Glasgow that was aware he was doing like he was doing his own. He was right into parkour and all that sort of stuff. So he had his own little
Brilliant, brilliant.
channel, and they were like, we're looking at doing the first apprenticeship type thing within this
Yeah.
field. Would you be interested? And I think he'd had enough of school, so he just jumped at the chance. So at 16, he sort of moved into this corporate company in Glasgow, and they basically flew him around the world to film and edit predominantly corporate promotional content for social media and websites and this sort of stuff. So that's what he's
Bloody
done.
hell,
And
fantastic.
but at the start of COVID, when I resigned from the old Bill, about a month later, he resigned from that job, and he was just like, I've spent
Wow.
6, 7 years of my life now just doing this, and I'm a bit bored. And he was like, all my mates have
Right.
been off traveling and been to uni and done all this stuff, and he's like, I just feel like
Yeah.
I've missed out. But he's just a bit lost now, really. Not to get into too much detail about my son, to be honest, but yeah, he's just a
No,
little
fair
bit
enough.
lost, not sure what he's going to do. So I approached him and said, "Look, I need help with the editing. Would you be up for it?" And whatever revenue we make from YouTube, I'll split 50-50 with you. And
Wow.
he very quickly realised that I don't make much on YouTube.
50% of fuck all is fuck all.
Yeah, basically, like on a good month, he's earning about 400 quid, and he was just like, "Dad,
Yeah.
I can't survive on this. How do you?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Well, yeah, I don't survive off
Yeah.
YouTube." So,
But
but
but how do you find, even though he's your son, how do you find it with somebody else editing your footage?
don't
That's
like
the
it.
other thing I think I
Don't
might
like
have
it.
an issue with.
I'm a control
That's
freak,
this,
Dave. Like
yeah,
I really
likewise,
am a control
likewise.
freak, and
Yeah,
the content. Whilst the content was good, when you look at it, it's good. But to me, it's like it hasn't got the soul. It's to me, it's plainly
yeah,
not a biker that's edited it because
mm,
there's bits that I know he's missed out because he's 26, 27 years old and he's not a biker. So he's not in our demographic age wise, and
yeah,
he's not coming it from a biker. He's just putting the content out there as to right what looks good and how does that story move,
mm,
but it's not telling the story I want it to tell. You know what I mean? And it's just little subtle
yeah.
things.
I
It can
do. I
just be
know
wee
exactly
subtle
what you mean.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
So
it's no fault of your sons. It's
no,
just because what is in our head is a very. Listen, I'm like this with when I've spent 6 months shooting a series for
yeah,
a TV project, and I see it go out on air. Honest to God, it kills me. It kills the art. It
yeah.
kills the buzz. And it happens more often than not. You wouldn't believe how many times that happens, and it's all because I've perceived when I'm shooting something, perceived the way it's going to look at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
then, throughout that whole production process, there are so many hands then which get to manipulate what I've shot.
Hmm.
And when it gets spat out and it goes out on air, I mean, it's just it's soul destroying sometimes, not all the time,
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
And
yeah.
in fact, over the last couple of years, when my name is on the end of some of these programs, I'm just like, take my name off, because that's not how I wanted it to
Aye.
end up,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So And don't ask me which programs because I'm not going to tell you.
Off air, over a beer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Talking of
Yeah.
which, are you ever going to get yourself over to Ireland?
Yes. I've gone into business now with Simon Weir with the tours. So Chicken Strips,
Brilliant.
the touring company
Brilliant. Yeah.
is both of us now,
Great.
and we're just sorting out the itinerary for next year, and it's almost 100% Ireland's going to be on it. However,
Great. Good lad.
however, I still fancy a little run over myself. I'm going to try and do a quick run over at some point this year if I can. So
Well, you
I'll
can do a
give you a
little
shout.
recce.
Yeah, I'll give you a
Yeah,
shout,
do
Dave.
that. You can do a little recce. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. No, I'm so passionate about Ireland, as anyone will know.
Mhm.
Looking at my videos, I treat the country as my own now,
Mhm.
and I hope the country will have me. But I love showing it off,
Yeah,
especially
it
on
does.
two
I was
wheels.
watching one of yours today, actually. It's the one. Oh God, was it up Mayo way? You had TMS mates all came with you. You went out for a day with
Oh,
TMS
that was
pals.
in yeah, that was in Wicklow. It was
Wicklow, sorry, not Mayo.
Wicklow.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The Sally Gap and the Guinness List.
that's
That was
it.
an incredible day. It
Yeah,
was
it
an
looked good. That.
unbelievable day. There. Lovely, lovely people there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had. I met them off the ferry in Dublin, and we just drove down there. And within an hour of leaving Dublin, you're into scenery like that. It was incredible. Yeah,
Beautiful.
and then that gang, lucky sods, they went off for the next 10 days doing a bit of the wild Atlantic way. I think they went up as
Oh
far
yeah,
as Galway, crossed back over to Dublin, and then went home. But
fantastic.
they had the weather every single day. They were sending photographs of them, being out in the street having pints and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. It's just like, my God, we'll never get 10 days of good weather in succession in Ireland. That's the only thing about tours in Ireland. Is you're going to have to bring waterproofs.
Same in Scotland. In fact, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, there's something about us with chicken strips. We just seem
Mm.
to attract rain. Like we were just in the Pyrenees. This sounds really wanky. What month's this? July. Last month, June. We were in the
Yeah.
Pyrenees and we had a couple of days of scorching, beautiful weather. Then we went
Yeah.
right up into the high passes, some of the Tour de France, big hitting passes and stuff. And that day,
Mm.
the weather changed. So literally, once we started going up, the fog came in and it got so bad you could hardly see your front wheel. The fog was so thick.
Oh my
And then it was
gosh.
raining on us, and it was just like
Bloody
Simon's at the
hell.
front, and he said, "And if you look to your left, it's one of the most breathtaking views available." And it's just fog. You couldn't see anything, nothing. He ended up having to
Like,
put pictures up, and he was like, "I was here last month doing a recce of the route," and he said, This is what you could have seen,
oh my,
on
yeah,
WhatsApp and stuff." We're like, "Oh,
time to
jeez."
use your imagination. Yeah,
But it
yeah.
just seems to follow us. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
well, never
Well,
mind.
you're hardened now.
You've just got to get out and get on with it, haven't you? There's nothing you can do on tour. If it rains, it rains, and if it's 48 degrees, it's 48 degrees. That's c'est la vie, it's
Dead
life.
right.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you'd be well able for Ireland. As Tommy Tiernan famously said, one of Ireland's famous comedians, he said, Ireland's a great country if only you could put a feckin' roof on it. So, and
Well,
he's
I look
dead
forward
right.
to finding
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
Next one, Mr. Fish. How you doing, John? Not a question. Just want to say, Dave, you're a lovely fella, and Bruce, yeah, you're okay too. Love you. Looking forward to this one. Thank you very much. Cheers, John. Good lad.
Cheers, John. Yeah, and it was good to see you again at the ABR. Yeah,
The ABR, yeah. I was kind of,
top man,
I
top
decided
man.
not to do the ABR this year, but I've got to admit, when I saw
Yeah,
all the posts from everybody when they were there, I was like, it does look a giggle. I wish I'd gone, but well, I'll
yeah,
hopefully be back
it was
next year.
brilliant. I
Yeah,
love it. It's like the highlight of the
yeah.
motorcycle calendar for me. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very quickly it's become that, hasn't it? It's become like the focal point of the
since
UK
what,
bike scene.
2018 this started or something like that, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
now look at them. But it's brilliant. Yeah.
yeah. I would say it's
If you,
definitely in the
yeah,
last 3 years. It seems to have just ramped right up in the last 3 years. Yeah,
yeah,
massive.
yeah, yeah. And
Right.
I only went last year for the first time.
That's right.
So it was only well, I saw you at it as well,
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
I? So it was only the second time just gone there. Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah. If anybody wants to learn how to put a festival on right, then
Yeah,
that's how you do it.
yeah. They've done a cracking job.
Mm.
Next one, Fentour. Martin, how you doing, Martin? Hello from the flatlands of East Anglia. I hope you're both super fine and getting plenty of time on two wheels. Anyway, question to both of you. My trips out with the Fenelon clan members are mostly based around food and drinks, with some of our favourite places mostly not known as biker cafes. So, my question is, what is your favourite type of food and drink? Fish and chips, a bike calf, tea and bacon, or a traditional tea room or pub? Or a co-op with a Costa machine. Of course, there are many more besides, which I may have missed. Cheers and see you in Scotland, Martin. Right, so when you go out for the rides, what's your sort of target grub choice? What are you aiming
Right,
for?
I'll tell you exactly what I do. So if I'm going out for a day, it's a different situation. I'll come back to that. But if I'm away, like on a mini tour, for 2 or 3 nights, what I'll always do is just have a service station sandwich and a coffee at lunchtime. And the accommodation on the nighttime will always be based around good grub. I love good grub, again, from life on the road. That's my little treat at the end of the day. And I'd much prefer treating myself to a really fantastic meal. Even when we did, in fact, you said this question's from Fen Tour, I think, did you? It was the Fen Tour videos I watched as a bit of research when I went off to do the Northumberland 250.
Yeah.
And now, talk about rain. Oh my God, I don't know if you saw those videos. Gee, we would drown rats at the end of it. But we
just up there 2 weeks
our
ago.
tour. It was amazing. Incredible. I'd love to do it again with a bit of good weather. But we based, Trev and myself who did it, we based our Northumberland 250 tour around the food. Now we sort of got it wrong on the second night, I think. But on the first night, we stayed at Slaley Hall and just had incredible food. Unfortunately, Trev forgot to bring a pair of normal shoes. So we sat in this really swanky restaurant with Trev. Trev just sat with his socks on. And I made bloody sure that he was going back to the bar to get the drinks in. Even if I gave him my card now and again, I loved looking at people's reactions, watching Trev walking across this fancy restaurant to the bar with his socks on.
With his socks on, yeah.
So no, it was very funny. So that's my little secret, and that's my little treat to myself when I'm on the road. I'll spoil myself on an evening, but I'm not too full. I don't like to be too full on a lunchtime snack if I'm riding a bike, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I'm the same.
What about you? Yeah, you're the same, Bruce. Are you?
Yeah, I've got a real bad stomach. Believe it or not, for a fat lad, I have to really watch what I eat, or certainly I have to watch where I am when I eat, if you get my drift. So on tour, I don't do breakfast and rarely do lunch. If I do lunch, it's something very, very light. But when we get to the hotel, the digs for the evening, wherever we're eating, I'll make sure I have a good meal at night. So I certainly am not losing any weight, put it that way.
Yeah.
And then if I'm just out on the bike, then I don't really have a specific place or thing that I look for when I'm out. Sometimes I'll just stop at the petrol station and, like you said, just a quick light bite and crack on. I like doing. Yeah. I'm kind of known for my challenge rides, so I like doing the big miles and just get out there and just keep riding. So I for those ones, I tend not to eat big meals. It's just grab a protein bar or whatever it is, just a drink, and then off you go, because you don't want to be sat on a big full stomach, do you? Because no, you're dead right.
And the other thing is as well, I always try and find the sweet spot between a greasy calf. This is if I'm just out for the day. So the sweet spot between a greasy calf and something not too fancy where you get stared at when you walk in with your biker gear and you're by yourself, and then you take the table, when you take the helmet off and put it on the table and you get sort of frowned at. I'm not into that either. So no. So to be honest, like a quick, as I call them, as I'm sure we all do, a quick piss stop with a sandwich involved. That's about it,
Splash and dash.
That's all I want. Splash and dash. Love it.
Yeah. Cheers for that one, Martin. Next one, Pete Brewer. Hi, a couple of questions to you both, if I may. Having travelled around quite a bit, whether by bike or other transport, where in the world do you think has the best views? And where do you see your great channels in 5 years or beyond? Keep up the great work. So, firstly, best views.
My God. Um,
No
this
doubt for
is
me.
Yeah, well, this might be a surprise to some, but and I'm sorry I can't cast the net a little bit further apart, but Ireland.
Oh, come on, Dave. Come on. It's beautiful,
Seriously,
but come
seriously.
on.
I rode the Causeway coastal route around the
Yeah.
Antrim coastline only last year. It's only 2 hours from where I live. Now, like I said at the beginning of this chat, I've only been back into biking for 4 years, so I haven't really traveled. Well, certainly haven't traveled where you've traveled on a motorbike. And I presume the question is to do with being on a motorbike and the best views. So for
Yeah.
me, the Causeway coastal route, I never seen scenery like that. The Wild Atlantic Way is something special and something different. But
Mm.
to be up there on the Causeway coastal route, it literally took my breath away. So,
Yeah.
and I'll never forget those memories being there. It really taught me a valuable lesson that I don't have to go to the other side of the
Yeah.
world just to
True.
experience breathtaking views.
Mhm.
More often than not, especially with a country like Ireland, it's literally in front of you. So that's it for me. Sorry if it's a bit boring, that one.
No, not at
Come
all. I
on, Bruce.
mean,
Come on,
I,
tell me yours.
for me, I don't think anywhere in the world beats the Swiss Alps for just out and
Oh
out
wow.
astonishing scenery. Like
Yeah. Well,
for
this is
me,
really interesting. I had a subscriber only 2 weeks ago contact me. He lives in Switzerland,
uh-huh.
and he's invited me over next year to go and stay with him and ride around in the Swiss Alps. And when I hear that, like what you just delivered with so much enthusiasm and passion, I've already said to him, listen, I don't know you, but
Mhm.
I'm doing this. I'm coming
Yeah.
over. I'm gonna do this. I'd love to do something like that. So uh, carry on. Tell me how amazing it is. Whet
Uh,
the appetite a bit there, will you?
to be honest, it's a very similar story to what you've got. In fact, it might even be the same bloke. There's a chap called Mark a few years ago. In fact, it was during COVID, the first year of COVID. He contacted me and said, I love your vids. I love your channel. You've helped me a lot in a few things that he'd been dealing with in life. And he just said, I'd like to give something back if I can. If you get yourself here to Switzerland, I'll look after you, I'll feed you, and I'll show you the best roads around here and views.
And if you're
So
lucky, I'll shag you as well.
yeah, exactly. Well, kind of disappointed that, didn't I? But anyway, and obviously to begin with, I was just like, that's really kind of you, but no, I can't accept your hospitality to that extent. I'll pay my
Yeah,
way, but I don't know when I'm going to be able to get the time, blah 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 blah. But he was really insistent. He was basically just like, no, just tell me when you've got 5 days free, and it's happening. I won't take no for an answer. It's happening. So I chatted with my wife about it, and she was just like, as she always is, she was just like, go for it. When you're going to get this opportunity again, just go for it, and see.
dead right.
So I did, and I rode down there, did a great ride, nice full day, straight down to Switzerland. Met up with this chap Mark, and he basically took me into his family's lives, and each day he'd take me out and just take me to all these different passes around Switzerland. Mind blowing how beautiful that place is. It is just
Did
stunning. It's
did
like
you make videos on this, Bruce? Did you?
I have, but I've not edited them yet, which is
Right.
ridiculous
Okay.
because it's 4 years ago. My son was
Right.
actually in the process of editing this series when there's a few things happened recently in his life, and
Okay.
he's going away traveling himself now. So
Fair enough.
it's still waiting to be edited. It's something I'm going to have to deal with. But Switzerland is so good that I went back there last year. I took a group of my mates there, and I've filmed all that as well. So, I've got two sets of vids on Switzerland that still have to come. And the scenery, I don't think there's anywhere in the world that beats it. There's plenty of places that will come close and maybe rival
Mm,
it. But for
mm.
me, when anyone talks about views, Switzerland's there. top of the head. Just
Wow, yeah.
stunning.
I've seen a load of stuff on social media, not just from bikers, just from like on photography forums and
Yeah.
everything. And it looks absolutely incredible. Again, I was there once, and story of
Yeah.
my life. I look at everything through a bloody viewfinder, and I never
Yeah.
really take in a landscape up there really. So,
Mm.
but I'd love to go. I'd love to go, and I've also said to my subscriber that I'm doing this next year. So,
Mate, oh, you'll
wouldn't
love
it be
it.
mad if it's the same fella?
Is it Mark? A chap called Mark?
I can't remember. I've got that
Put you on the
name
spot there. Sorry, Dave.
escapism. Yeah,
Apologies.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it was just an amazing place. I'd recommend. Yeah, if you're gonna speed, then yeah, you're gonna pay. You're gonna have to remortgage your house. But
Yeah, yeah, I've heard
you
about
don't.
that. Don't they take a percentage of your salary if you get
It's
caught
means
speeding or
tested.
something
Yeah,
like that?
means tested. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not only, yeah, well, it's on your salary, but also your savings. So, they look at the lifestyle you have, how much money you've got available. So it's not just on what you earn, it's savings that
Bloody
you have as well.
hell.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the 44 Teeth
Yeah.
boys, when they got done, they're
Yeah.
fine. They had an on the spot penalty of something like 3.5 grand, I think 4 grand that they had to pay on the spot. And then
Oh
once
God.
he got home and they'd had a chance to means test him, I think Chris got a fine in of something like 12 or 13 grand.
Oh
Because
my
obviously,
God.
because he's obviously he owns a very successful business and he's doing very well for himself. So yeah, he had a massive fine. So there's about 15 grand in total for speeding. I mean, he was doing
Bloody
like,
hell.
I think he was doing over 100 mile an hour in like a 60 type of thing, 55, 60 mile an hour stretch. So he was proper spanking it. I
Yeah.
think I could be wrong
Yeah.
there, folks. Don't take that as
Yeah.
gospel. But he was considerably over. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh,
Oh well.
jeepers. Right.
Yeah. But honestly,
I might rethink. I might rethink Switzerland.
no,
I might send your
honestly,
man. I'll send him a message tonight. Just send me photographs instead.
I thought
No,
that before I
I'll
went.
just watch Bruce's videos when he gets around to edit them.
In about 5 years' time. No, I thought that till I went, and honestly, you can you'd be doing really well to break the speed limit in the bends, in the corners. You'll spank it in the
Okay.
straights, but
Yeah.
if you get caught speeding in the straights, I just kind of think you're being a bit daft, really, because the straights, you
Yeah.
just take it easy in the straights, and then when you get to the corners, just keep the speed going. Do you know what I mean? And like the challenge is taking the corners at a reasonable rate, really, a safe, reasonable rate. So,
Yeah.
try to put my old hat on there.
Ah.
Drive at a speed that is appropriate, all that
Yeah.
spiel. Anyway, cheers for that question, Pete. Next one, Patrick Collum. So, question that probably is a little dull, but maybe opens a discussion. Where have you travelled that you'd like to do differently and revisit to explore more? Or where would you like to go in the future that would scratch the proverbial itch? Obviously, Bruce would have to take the jigsaw. A GS is cheating. Well, we kind of touched on that already, haven't we?
We
I
sort of
think.
have, but one place I'd love to go to again, which I haven't really explored at all. I'd love to go to France.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
love to drive down through France, and again, because of my love of food and the finer things in life, a nice little drop of vino now and again as well. I'd love to ride through France. I saw the most amazing series. What's your man called? The chef who does the fish. He in Cornwall or something. Do you know the one I mean?
Fish in
So
Cornwall.
he lives down in Devon or Cornwall. Chef.
Is he the one that used to be really big and he's lost loads and loads of weight?
That's him. That's him.
I've forgotten his
He
name.
Yeah, I've forgotten it as well. He
Sorry.
drove his Porsche down through France and was cooking along the way and everything. And
Wow.
it's just, I've got to do that on a bike. So I'd love to do that. And it's one of those journeys as well that I think I'd love to do by myself.
Mm.
I'd really enjoy doing France. I know I would. And I've always fancied going, over on June the 6th for D-Day, visiting
Oh,
the beaches and whatever, and pay my respects. And so I've always thought I could maybe combine that and then travel south down through France, maybe into Spain as well. The world's your oyster, isn't it? When you have two wheels. most of us have cars as well, and I
Yeah.
would never think about doing anything like that in a car. It's something about the
Yeah.
addiction with motorcycles. It's just that, well, it's the epitome of escapism and freedom, isn't it?
This,
We think like this when we've got a motorbike.
and we are so lucky to live where we live because even though
Yeah,
we're on a tiny wee island, and obviously you're on the island as well, we have access to mainland Europe. And once you're in
yeah,
mainland Europe, the travel is just so easy. Even with Brexit, it's
yes,
still so easy. Even if you've got to stop and stamp your passport, it doesn't take long. For 10, 15 minutes
yeah,
max, max.
yeah.
And you boom, you're through. It's so easy. Folks, if you've never done it, just get your arse across
Mm,
into
mm,
Europe and just go. It's easy.
mm.
France, I spent a lot of time in France on the bike when I first passed my test.
Did
Like
you?
me and my mates, every year, a couple of times a year, me and my mates would go and like I live 40 miles from the tunnel, so I can
Yeah,
literally just jump on my bike and it's the same
and
as going
go.
to Northumberland, really, for me. I just jump across the
Yes,
tunnel and I'm in France. But
yeah.
since we found Spain, I've never really gone back to France. Never even
Mm.
thought about it because I'm like, well, I've done that. My mates that I used to tour with all the time, they went back this year and they were just like, oh my God, it's so much better than we actually remember. Because we put Spain on
And,
the pedestal and they've
all
gone
right,
back and they were
okay.
like, Jesus, it's fantastic. So that's got me
Yeah,
thinking, I need to go back to France. Plus, I
yeah,
use Kalimoto, don't I, for all my navigation.
yeah.
And I've never been to France
Brilliant.
with Kalimoto. So I'm like,
Oh my
is that
God,
whole
that'll be
bit that I
incredible.
just need to fill in now? So I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Just like a culinary tour of France on a
Oh,
motorbike for me would just be one of the best trips ever. I'd love that.
I'd need one of these new GS Adventures. I'd need one of them to carry my fat ass by the end of the tour, I
I'm
think.
dying to talk to you about that because I think you share the same thoughts as I do. Again, when I was on holiday, I did like a live reaction little
Yeah,
vid to the
yeah,
announcement, so I hadn't heard, not that it bothers me. I say what I want to say, and I say what I think, and
yeah.
I don't base it on what anybody else thinks. And so my live reaction, it turned out I was in a huge minority, where I sort of I was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't as
Were
bad
you?
as I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
At the
Now I
launch?
still I thought the production of the launch and the reveal was the worst presentation I've ever seen.
Yep.
Whoever directed that on a professional level should be fired. Everything was
Oh,
wrong with it. It was
Dave,
horrific. Um,
Dave, Dave.
what?
You want to have a
Yeah.
word with you want to have a word with Elon because your audio is fantastic, but your picture has gone like some 1970s Atari block thing. It's
Has it?
really
Am
weird.
I
Yeah.
am I back
True.
now or not?
No.
Let's see if I can do anything.
I wonder
Sorry
if
about that.
it's all right. I wonder if your
Oh,
camera's
yeah,
overheated. Is it overheated?
oh yes, yes, it bloody could have done.
It's been an hour and
No,
45
no.
minutes.
Okay, so we'll carry on. Where were we?
Oh God.
What was I talking about?
We're talking about France.
Yeah,
Uh,
bloody hell, I can't remember.
we've done views. Oh yeah, the GSA.
Oh yeah,
The
the GSA.
That's it.
So I said what I thought, and then wow, the comments on my video, it was hilarious. Like it really didn't go down well. The first initial thoughts of that bike did it, but I heard a video you said you were talking about it recently, and I thought, oh my God, Bruce like is the only other person after
Yeah,
myself who
it's
seems
really
to
grown
think it's
on me.
all right.
It's
Yeah,
really
and
grown
I
on me.
think it's definitely going to be one of those. I think when you see it in the flesh, I think it could nearly be a bit of a winner for them.
I think it's going to
Maybe,
be.
maybe a
I th-
winner is a bit too strong, but go
no,
on.
I think when this launches, when it hits the showrooms, I think it's going to be their biggest seller by a long way.
Really?
I'll hedge my bets on it. I really think that genuinely because it is so different. It is so radically
Yeah.
different than anything else that's out there. And
Well,
it's,
without a
it's not
doubt,
going to be a pig to ride, is it? It's going to be an amazing bike to ride.
that's right. That's right. That's right. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing for sure. It's going to be incredible to ride. But obviously, there's going to be a percentage of people who go out there just to say that they have the latest
Of course.
GSA. So there's going to be a portion of people who do that. And I think when the initial reviews start coming in about how good it is to ride, I think that'll help shift a few more as well.
Yeah,
I wish they'd come out with a few more color schemes
yeah,
as
yeah,
well. I think when I see one in the flesh, I think it'll be a lot more attractive than it is,
yeah. I
online
agree.
on a
Yeah,
photograph. But that it's great living in these times, isn't it? Very exciting times if you're into motorbikes and
yeah,
technology and
yeah.
all of this
Definitely.
stuff. Yeah.
I've got the my bike, the 1300, is in for its, pardon me, 12,000 mile service at the moment. And
Yeah.
that's going to take a couple of days because as usual, there's a load of recalls
Yeah.
on the 1300 at the moment. There's loads of issues around the place. But again, they're dealing with it, so I've got no complaints. They've given me an M1000R as the courtesy bike, more because I get on really well with the sales manager there, Will, if you're watching, listening,
Yeah.
top man Will. And
Yeah.
he's very keen for me to do content on the range of bikes because it's a win-win for everybody, really. So he's like, right, I've got the
Mm.
perfect courtesy bike for you, and he posted up a picture on Instagram, and it was this
Incredible.
M1000R. So I was like, God, yes, please. So I had it.
Stunning.
Amazing, just
I'd
lunacy.
say this.
It's
Yeah.
insanity that this thing, you can buy this bike and put it out on public roads. It's nuts. I'd still have a Super Duke
Wasn't
R over it though. I'd still take the Super
would
Duke over.
you?
Yeah,
Would
yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Didn't Chopsy go away on one of those bikes recently?
Yeah, he
Was
went out
he
on the
on?
XR. He was on an
Oh, it
XR
was
and
the
a
XR.
GS.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
three of
Yeah,
them
yeah,
went to the GSA launch, didn't they?
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to
God,
say that the XR is a better touring bike than the GS. Shut up, Chopsy. Shut up. Um, but what was I talking about? What was I going to say? Oh, the
the GSA.
the M range that they've got. The whispers are that
Yeah,
they're going to do an
yeah.
M 1300 GS.
Oh
Wow,
no. Yeah, that would be something special,
wow,
wouldn't it? But
yeah.
then I've thought that since the launch of the standard 1300, and I know you have one, so I'll be very polite.
Oh no, no, don't.
Listen, it's as simple as this. It's all subjective. That's why we have a marketplace. That's why there is a marketplace for motorcycles because we're all into different things. But I was so built up to be going to buy one of them. Now, it wasn't just that bloody headlight. It was the price in Ireland. That 1300 standard GS in Ireland, the green one, the
Uh-huh.
Tramontana, fully loaded, is €32,000.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So God knows what
Wow.
price the GSA is going to come in at. In fact, I'll
I've
let you
seen the
into
price
something
of.
now.
Oh, go on.
Have you?
Yeah.
I tomorrow I'm going down to the BMW dealers because I'm yet again thinking I have to shift my 1200 GS. As much as I love it, I don't. This is the whole reasoning behind this. I don't want to keep it much longer before it's worth feck all, especially
Mhm.
with all of these new models and
Yeah, yeah.
iterations of the GS coming out. So I'm thinking to save a bit of collateral in my bike, I might have to shift it on. So tomorrow, I'm just going to look. That's what I keep telling my wife. Just going to look. I'm going to look at a 2020 model GSA
Uh-huh.
in the trophy colors. I think,
Mhm.
didn't you have the trophy standard GS?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
No,
Well,
no,
the
no,
rally.
it wasn't. It wasn't the trophy. The rally. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm looking at it in the rally colours, not the. I was trying to find the trophy colours. There's none in
Uh-huh.
Ireland for sale. So I'm going to look at a GSA in the rally colours, 2020. And it's
Nice.
actually a bloody good price because, funny enough, I think any which come onto the market will be getting snapped up, especially after people's initial thoughts of the brand new GSA. So
Make sure
they've held the bike for me anyway.
it's a 220, isn't it? Right, it's okay. Because the 2019 ones, the first 6 months of the 2019 1250s, they were the ones that suffered with this hot start issue. So it's when the bike gets
Oh.
hot, it would just conk out. If you ever watch, I did a review on the new 1250 GSA when it was first launched. My old
Mm.
dealership gave me one of their demo bikes and I took it to ride around the UK in this 2-day challenge thing I do. and it got to St David's in Wales and then just conked out, wouldn't start again. So that was the end of the challenge, and I had to get recovered. That's because it had this
Bloody
hot
hell.
start issue, and it's a known issue. BMW know about it. I think they do have a fix in place, but some dealerships don't recognize it for some reason. Some dealerships still try and fob you off with all manner of bollocks. But it's the 2019 GSAs, the first 6 months of it.
That is really good to know,
So
because
you'll be
if
all
this
right
one
with the
doesn't work out
2020.
tomorrow, yeah, but yeah, if it doesn't work out tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I'm still looking around, I mean, this is the other thing, right? So this one I'm looking at tomorrow, in euro, of course, it's 19 grand.
Jesus.
If
For a
if I
2021.
was for a 2020, yeah, and
Wow.
that's there's only three available in Ireland. That at the moment, that's the cheapest. I
Jeez.
mean, there's a 2023 model in Ireland, and that is 24,000 euro
Wow.
for a 23. You know,
Wow.
and that's not with luggage. That's without luggage.
Why is it so
So
expensive over there?
tax, a government tax. The cars are the same. Cars are astronomical. I mean, I've got a bloody Land Rover Discovery. Just don't even mention that again, by the way, okay? Because it's the bane of my life. I've spent so much on it now. I have to keep it.
Yeah,
Because I've actually
yeah.
bought the car 2 times over because of the amount which has gone wrong with it, blown the engine
Jesus,
on it.
Dave.
It's horrendous. So I'm invested in it. I have to keep it. But even to get into like something to hold all of my gear, I've looked at the new Hyundai Santa Fe's coming out, or the new, oh, there's another one coming out. I forget, something like a Kia or something. I mean, not in the same league as a Land Rover, but they start at 70 grand here in Ireland. You know,
Jesus.
it's ridiculous. Uh,
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, it's just crazy. That's for one of the new ones. I mean, if you were to buy a new, the new Land Rover Defender, that really sort of retro looking shape, that they start at 85 grand.
It's
So
insane.
it
That is
is, yeah,
absolutely insane.
it's crazy. So. My wife and I always say, do we want monthly repayments or do we want monthly repair bills?
Mm,
So
yeah,
so we opt to try and buy our vehicles at the beginning, but then because we buy older vehicles, inevitably they go wrong, and we end up paying probably more than we
yeah,
would on a
yeah,
monthly repayment for a car with a guarantee.
yeah.
Just can't win. Can't win.
Yeah, I mean, I effectively rent my bikes. I only ever buy them on finance. There's no way,
Mm,
my bike was 21 and a half grand for that new GS. There's no way I could afford that. So
mm.
I just pay the monthly finance and change it every 2, 3 years. Just change it, get another one. All right, I'm never going to have
Are
the,
you?
the bike at the end of it, but I've got access to bikes that I could never afford normally.
Exactly, and it's a brilliant way for most people. When you said you know the price of the new GSA, are you
Yeah.
allowed to disclose that or not?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I have lots of contacts within the
yeah,
industry who shouldn't tell me stuff, but they do. So yeah, I
that's fair
got
enough.
leaked some stuff about the GS and the GSA before it was made public.
Incredible.
And I
Yeah.
don't think I'm allowed to say. I'm pretty sure I'm
Well,
not
then
allowed
fair
to say.
enough.
But you'll be very
Don't say it.
if they keep this pricing structure.
Mm,
It might even be public now. Can't remember. Someone was chatting about it recently. But anyway, if they keep the pricing structure, then I was pleasantly surprised because
really?
yeah, it's
So I can
you're
I
not going to
can
be out of
definitely see you
pocket
with one
compared
of
to the
these.
normal GS. No, because I
Wow.
still think if the GSA was a bigger engine, then maybe I might look at it. But at the moment, it's
Yeah,
still just a fat GS. So why
it
would I
is. Yeah.
get? I'm fat enough. Why would I get a fatter version of the bike I've got? It's
Yeah, I
slower.
know.
It's going to be slower, and it's not going to handle the
But
same.
Yeah, I can't wait to ride one. But
Yeah,
again, one of the things I love about the GS, like most of us, is the road presence, you know?
yeah,
And
yeah.
with that new GSA, I think they've certainly addressed the road presence because I think it's just going to look menacing when it's on the road. I think
You're
it's
like
going
a
to look
tank
fantastic on
behind
the
you.
road. Yeah, and that's why I'm dying to see it in the flesh.
Yeah,
But I know
yeah.
first thoughts are just not good.
It was at
Anyway,
the
where,
launch. I watched the launch live, I think on Instagram when they or maybe it was YouTube. But when they
yeah,
unveiled it, they pulled the sort of curtain back, if you like, on the
I
bikes.
remember.
There was
Yeah,
like an audible gasp and people going,
yeah,
"Oh," and then folks started
yeah.
laughing. And then they cut it.
I
It went
know.
to something else. And I was just like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God. Wow.
And
It's not gone down well."
they had that female presenter presenting the whole thing, and she seemed to be more concerned about who was going to the after show party that night rather than about the bike. It was honestly the worst
Mm,
presentation I've ever seen for anything.
yeah.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I actually talking about technology. Um, when that launch happened, I was sat on holidays thinking, yeah, I'll put something together. So I shot it on the iPhone.
Mm,
I only have the iPhone 13. I know it's moved on since then, but you know that where you can get the depth of field, the cinematic mode
uh-huh.
on your video on
Yeah.
an iPhone. So I shot it on that, so it looked like I had some really nice depth of field behind me, and I took my Rode wireless microphones with me, the Rode Wireless Pro, the new ones, which I
Hmm.
got for work. I just took them for the hell of it because I thought maybe I'd end up doing something with my phone. Didn't even take an Osmo action, but I knocked out that whole video within an hour of that live reaction. I had it
Wow.
uploaded on YouTube from my phone with radio mic audio into
Brilliant.
my phone, and there it was on YouTube, and it got a ton of views and a ton of reaction, especially because I seem to be in the minority saying that I
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
thought
yeah.
this was all right. But that blew me away. That technology that you can react to something so quick, and it's on YouTube for the world to see it and
Yeah.
react to within an hour, all done on my phone.
Hmm.
With beautiful audio quality,
It's insane
from
now, isn't it?
from any country, like it's
I've
insane.
just
I remember. Sorry, I'll tell you this. You love this. I remember as a child, my father was a press photographer for a newspaper, and I remember going with my father to a football match, and at half time, basically all the goals in a football match had to happen in the first half because at half time, certainly in Newcastle upon Tyne, right, all of the photographs that my father had to be sent via a wire machine. It was called a wire machine down to London to be developed, to be processed for the newspaper the following morning, you know.
yeah, yeah.
And even that technology, which was in a big suitcase, which my dad would set up in the changing room where all the players were getting changed at half time, he'd set up the suitcase. And to watch that technology sending a photograph,
Yeah.
through the suitcase down to London. And now, was sat on holiday uploading videos, to YouTube
Crazy,
and
isn't it?
got it sound like a real dinosaur, but it still blows me away the advancement of technology with all this. It's incredible. Yeah, yeah.
I remember
Go
I
on.
remember turning up at uni, first year at uni, so 94. And I remember them saying, "Oh, we're going to send you've got access to an email." And we were all like, what's an email? What's email? Like 17 at the time. What's email? And
Yeah,
nobody really knew what email was. It was new to everybody at the
yeah.
uni then. And I remember remember dial-up connection. It
I do.
was like proper
I
dial.
can
You had to
still hear the
sit there.
noise in my
Yeah,
head.
all this
Yeah.
sort of stuff. You had to
Ding,
sit there and
ding.
wait. And like, if someone sent you a picture, you were like, oh, because you have to
Yeah,
sit
yeah.
there for minutes waiting for this line by line, this picture to eventually.
Hilarious.
Is that a boob? Is that a boob? Just wait for it to arrive. And now you get stuff 4K. You can stream in. How old are we, mate? Jesus.
I
We
know.
just
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing.
moaned about
Yeah.
stuff. Right, I love it. I love it.
We need to sit in front of a fireplace with a glass of whiskey and a pipe with the slippers on one day, Bruce,
Mate,
and
I'm
shoot
coming
the
to
breeze.
Ireland. I'm coming to Ireland and we're doing that. We're going to sit in a pub and get paralytic, moaning about everything.
I'll join you. I'll join you. I'll be there, man.
Right, next one. Andy, evening, gents. Really enjoy both your contents. A couple of questions, if I may. Dave, are you still going on your US tour? And if so, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I am. I leave on the 25th of September. Absolutely still happening, despite my fear of flying. So all the fundraising is done now. The generosity from people has
Have you
just
hit your
been
target?
incredible. Yeah, we've all hit the
Awesome.
target. Well, I don't know if everybody's hit the target. Every rider has to raise €10,000
Hmm.
because it's all for the Children's Hospital here in Ireland, and the generosity has just been incredible. I mean, to launch my fundraising campaign, I had a preschool in Dublin called St. Elmo's Preschool, and they wanted to put on the big launch day, and they had the kids draw all of these beautiful window sketches and art and murals on the wall outside and everything, all to wish me an amazing send off on
Wow.
Route 66. This was a dash school as well, which absolutely blew me away. What I mean by that is that it's in an underprivileged area of
Hmm.
Dublin, and for a dash school, especially to put on a send off like that, and they give me €1,000 to kickstart my fundraising campaign. And then on the day, I had kids coming up to me and giving me their pocket money, fivers and teners and whatever,
That's amazing.
and then for weeks after, the parents of the kids in the school donating on the I Donate page. Uh, um, God, I'm
Humbling,
filling up
isn't it?
now. Yeah,
Really
yeah.
humbling.
Sorry. It
Oh, mate.
absolutely touched me. So I couldn't believe how quick that happened. So yes, and the answer to your question is, and in a weird way, I feel as though I owe all of those kids in that school
Yeah.
who sent me off, apart from everybody else who's donated to this incredible cause. I feel as though it doesn't matter about my fear of flying. I'm doing this
Mm.
now. I have to do this, and I have to bring back the stories, and I have to make the videos for people to see what we will experience. By the way, I have to say, and sorry, I don't want to go off telling everybody about this whole event
No,
because
please
I've
do.
hopped on quite a bit about it. It's a charity which has been going. This is the 10th time they've done it. They do it every other year, and the last time they did it, nearly 2 years ago, they raised nearly €1 million. And with
Wow.
that €1 million, they bought an entire intensive care suite for the Children's Hospital in Ireland. So
That's fantastic.
it's an incredible cause, and that's why we're doing it. I try and do one charity event a year. Last year, I did a jigsaw charity for youth mental health, where I met the most amazing bunch of guys who will be lifelong friends to me.
Hmm.
And in fact, I'm going with one of them to the BMW shop tomorrow. And I just love those guys. And again, that's what motorcycling has done for me. It's opened up a whole new world, all new experiences, and memories for life. So the other part of, yeah, I'm so passionate about this. I could talk about,
No, no, I'm going to
what
ask you more about
motorcycling
it
has done
anyway.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the other part of the American tour is the thing I'm looking forward to most is I'm a huge Eagles fan, and I know one of the stops on the trip is the standing on the corner of Winslow, Arizona. So that to me would be a real pinnacle of the trip.
You're
Uh,
going to take it easy,
uh,
are you?
yeah, good man. Yeah,
I'm frantically going through my head, like, where's that?
yeah,
When's
yeah, 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 yeah.
on
In a
my mind?
flatbed Ford.
Mega.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I'm just wondering how many of those lyrics I'll work into my series of videos as I'm going through there.
Mate,
So
I,
yeah.
just to interrupt slightly, when I was in the States in March there and I was like
Mm,
all around Appalachia, I just had like a country playlist from Spotify playing in my head the whole
brilliant.
time. And
Oh,
it was like
wonderful, wonderful.
Country Road and just all these country bangers. And there I am, I'm riding through like Virginia, West Virginia. And, oh, it was
Unbelievable.
just amazing.
Mind blowing.
You'll
Yeah,
have
mind blowing.
such a good time. So come on, tell us
When I
about it
watched
then.
your vids, So there's 60 odd riders
Yep.
going, and I think one of the tour leaders, Eddie Golden, he was telling me because we've been doing a bit of training for this as well. So on the last training day with the guards, which is the police force here in Ireland, they want to make sure that we're all capable riders. It's called the Route 66 Challenge
Hmm.
for a reason. I mean, some of the days we're doing over 400 kilometers. So, it's no easy task if you're not an experienced rider.
Hmm.
So we've been doing a bit of training with the Garda Training College here, motorcycle riding, basically just to make sure we can all ride, first of all. And then teaching us what the roads might be like when we're over there as
Mm.
well. Now, obviously, we're all doing it on Harley Davidsons.
Yep.
I've never ridden a Harley in my life. I was
Oh
offered
yeah.
the chance back in February, and I declined because, as part of my live reaction when I get on a Harley, I want that to be portrayed on the video when I'm
Yeah, I
over
get
there.
that. Hmm.
So I'm riding. We all got sent like a list of what type of Harley you would like to ride. So I've chosen a street glide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'd love to travel maybe on something more naked, but I think after riding 4,000 kilometers, I'll be welcome of a bit of sort of windshielding up front. The
Definitely.
only thing is, I've sort of been researching these street glides. And the front of them, as you know, is built up quite a way. And from videos that I've seen from other YouTubers riding these bikes, all you can see is like the sort of dashboard in front of them, and I'm a
Mm.
short ass anyway. So I don't know. Well, there's
Good
no such
point.
thing as a telephone directory anymore. Can you remember well, you wouldn't know because you've always been tall. But as a kid,
Sitting
wherever
on
I
the
went,
phone book.
get him a couple of telephone directories, it'd be grand.
Yeah, I
So
remember standing on them as a little kid
yeah, yeah.
to reach them.
How
Yeah.
many? Yeah, I even remember going in a restaurant. We'll get him a couple of telephone directories, and he'd be able to get his food. And I wouldn't care. I was 30-year-old then. I jest.
It's only last week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I
So
mean,
I'm sort of looking at different ways of maybe mounting the camera on top of their helmet now to see
yeah,
over the bloody
see over.
windscreen. I tell you, the problems of being a short ass. You tallies don't know you have it, how well you
So
have it.
I've chatted about this before. I get people asking me, they go to me, "Oh, I'm 5'4". How do you think I'd be on this bike and that bike?" And I'm just like, man, I'm 6'3" and 20 stone. I have
Yeah,
no
yeah,
idea. I've got no
yeah.
comprehension as to what that bike would be like for somebody effectively half my size almost.
I
It's
know.
just like
I
I
I
don't
know.
know. I just
Yeah,
don't know. But
yeah,
what I
yeah.
do know, mate, is I was almost reticent to ride a Harley, and it was a pal of mine, Michael, over at Guildford Harley. I'll give him a little plug. Guildford Harley Davidson. He'd been on at me for ages and ages and ages to come and ride some of his Harleys and do some vids on them. So eventually I did, and I turned up. I had no idea what bike I was taking out. To be honest, I thought I was just going there for a chat with him and the manager of the place, just to chat about what we can do together. And I walked in and he said, "Right, okay, well, you've never ridden a Harley, so you need to know what the experience is. Take that out." And he chucked me the keys, and it was one of those, I think it was a street glide, or was it an ultra glide? But I took one of them out, and wow. I love
Mm,
them. I love
mm,
Harleys. They're
yeah,
not the most refined of machines out there, but they live and they breathe. It's a special thing riding a Harley. And to be
yeah,
in the
yeah.
States doing 66 on it, oh yeah, I
You
get
can
that.
only do 66 on a
Oh,
Harley. Yeah.
I get
We
it.
did
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the choice as well. We had the choice of doing it on a GS. You can't do Route 66 on a GS, especially when I have one back here, So,
Too easy, isn't it?
you
It's
have
too
to do it on a
easy.
Harley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's just
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I love the
So,
GS, but
I,
it's
I,
too easy.
I'm so looking forward to it.
Oh, you'll
So,
have a
like I
whale of
say,
a time.
60 riders over 2 weeks and covering 4,000 kilometers. And when we get to Santa Monica Pier, we're getting an LAPD motorcycle rider, entourage taking us down
Wow.
onto the pier. Because most of the riders who are doing it from Ireland, they're Garda
Garda.
motorcyclists as well.
Yeah.
So.
Man,
So
I can't wait to see the vids. That's going to be mint.
Oh man, I cannot wait to do it. So, but again, it'll be the bloody editing.
Yeah, but wow. Wow, what a
I
thing!
know.
Because it's going to be
Lifetime
cinematic,
experience.
isn't it?
Well, I always said, like joining a male voice choir, it's a bucket list thing for when I
Yeah,
retire.
yeah.
So the fact that this came along, when I got the call about it last year, that this has come along at my age now, it was an offer I just couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd get the opportunity, so it looks like it's happening. Well, it is happening. So
Awesome. Can
yeah,
people
I'm
still
so
donate?
excited. They can,
Right.
and God, what is the link?
I've had a look earlier.
Maybe so I'll give that to you. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yes, yeah. People can still donate. I donate page is still open and active,
Okay.
and that obviously goes straight to the charity.
Lovely.
So
Folks, check out, if you
yeah,
listen to the
yeah.
podcast, have a look at show notes. If you're watching the podcast on YouTube, look at the vid description. There'll be a link there. And I'll also put the link on the social posts when this goes live next week.
Thank you for that. Can I also
Pleasure.
add onto the back of that, Bruce? And I watched the podcast you did, your recent one with the fairy bikers,
Hmm. Hmm.
the girls, and it was absolutely brilliant. And it was a
Thank you.
very valid point. You were all talking about charities.
Hmm.
So what I found last year, I mentioned that I did the Jigsaw charity, and this year, obviously, with the Route 66 thing. What I found, and this is totally reasonable, especially with what's been going on with certain charities, is that people want me to be transparent in
Hmm.
terms of where the money is going. I've told you about the intensive care suite. The other thing I must mention as well is that whilst the €10,000 per rider pays for our motels,
Hmm.
it also pays for our flights and the bike hire. We are paying for everything else. We're buying our own food.
Yeah.
We're even buying our own fuel out of
Hmm.
our own pockets, and we're even buying our own motorbike and health insurance
Hmm.
ourselves. None of that comes out of that donation money. The
No, cool.
donation money, apart from what I've just told you, everything else goes towards the children's hospital. So,
Nice one.
and I'm delighted they've decided to do that as well, and they've done it like that because I don't want anybody thinking that there are 60 riders going off on a junket.
Yeah. Paid for by everybody else. Yeah, yeah, I get you. I get you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, nice one. Andy has another question. He says, Bruce, what bit of advice would you share with Dave about long distance trips? As I understand, you've got a bit of form in that respect. Keep up the great entertainment, gents. I mean, Andy, I don't need to tell Dave anything. You just, you know,
Yeah,
if you're used to putting the miles in, you're used to putting the miles. That's the only advice I give to anybody out there who wants to go and do big miles or big trips. Get yourself bike fit. Just spend some time on the bike. You know, where you're doing a couple of 100 mile a day, just get used to spending 5 days back to back on a bike. Just get used to that because it is tiring. You know, by day three on our tours, by day three, day one and two, everyone's full of, you know, piss and vigor, aren't they? It's just like, yeah, let's go. Day three comes
yeah,
and people start getting a little bit tired. Day four,
yeah,
people are getting really tired. And you can see it. You can see it in people. So it's, yeah, just get yourself bike fit. But you ride
yeah.
all the time, you'll be fine. Absolutely fine.
Well, I hope
Owen
so.
Harries, how you doing, Owen? Owen, thank you very much for the bottle of whiskey. You sent me a bottle of, is it Pendragon, the Welsh whiskey, Penderyn?
Oh, lovely,
Get me a
lovely.
bottle of that arrived yet. Thank you very much, Owen. Much appreciated. You're very kind. Hello from the wetlands, West Wales, Pembrokeshire. Good evening to you both. My question tonight would be, if you only had one choice of meal for 1 month, what would it be? Morning, noon, and night. P.S. Bruce, hope you enjoy the Penderyn. It's on its way. Thank you. Cheers. I will. Right. So you can only have one meal for all meals for a month. What are you having? Wow. Wow.
Do you want to go first?
Well, it's kind of like my life on tour, to be honest, because I don't eat brekkie and rarely have any kind of lunch. So
Right.
most nights it's either going to be a steak, a burger, or a pizza. That's pretty much like hotel
Yeah.
or pub restaurant standards, isn't it? So be
Yeah.
one of them. Which one would I have? Probably burger. Yeah, oh no, actually, steak. I go steak.
Yeah. What type though?
Oh, oh God.
And how do you like it cooked?
Well, I used to go rare all the time, but then
Yeah,
when I've been to a couple of like posher steaky type places, and there it's like wine, isn't it? You have to be. I tend to ask. I'll ask the waiter and staff, or like if the chef's around, you'll ask them, and you'll just say, right, for that cut, what do you recommend? What do you recommend for that cut? And sometimes they say, well, medium. I'd have that one as
yeah,
medium, not rare.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I think you can't really go wrong with a good sirloin or a good rump, to be honest. And yeah, I'd normally go rare or medium rare on it. What about yourself?
I would also go steak and chips, but there have to be Parmesan fries. That's the stipulation. And it has to be a ribeye steak, Parmesan fries, and some sort of chestnut mushrooms. Maybe a little bit of asparagus on there. Give me that 3 times a day for a month. I'm a very happy man for a month before I drop down dead at the end of it.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. First off, your pea's going to stink with all that asparagus, but that's down to
Yeah,
you. Secondly, what
yeah.
is this witchcraft you speak of? What fries? Parmesan
Parmesan
fries.
fries.
Oh,
Yeah.
salivating.
It's absolutely incredible. Done, cooked in a truffle oil. Normally, you normally get the two
Ooh,
together, right? So I know it sounds really fucking arsey, doesn't it? Now, I
don't
haven't.
forget your roots, Dave. You're bloody
I was
Geordie, are
going to
you
say
not? Truffle
I
oil.
wasn't read on
Jesus.
truffle oil chips with parmesan. I had this for the first time only last year, and it's just been one of my favorite things. So if on the rare occasion I find myself in some fine dining place for a birthday treat or something like that, I'll always make sure if they've got so the chips are cooked in truffle oil and then grated parmesan on top. Oh my
Wow.
God, with a ribeye steak, it's one of life's great pleasures, and it's a shame it took me up until about 54 years of age to discover this finery.
Do they sell
But
this
it
over
but
in
it is
Ireland?
incredible.
Because I'll be there
Yeah.
next week.
Oh man,
There.
they do.
Wow.
And Irish steak as well is just something
Oh,
else.
oh.
Yeah, I'm salivating now.
Dave,
Yeah.
I'm coming to see you. I'm coming to see you. God, wow.
Washed down with a nice fine pint of Guinness. I had this recently over in
Dave, I
Galway, a
must.
place called McSwiggan's. It's the most amazing steakhouse pub in Galway. And me and my 2 sons, we were over there on just a lad's holiday for a week in the
Mhm.
caravan at the beginning of the school holidays there. I remember what I was saying earlier in this chat about spending more time with my
Yeah,
kids.
yeah, yeah.
We had one of those rare weeks when the three of us were doing nothing. I said, right, lads, come on, we'll take the caravan, shove it on the back of the car. When we headed over to Connemara, and I took them to this place in Galway City, which I knew I'd been there before. And the unfortunate thing is that my 2 boys, my youngest lad's only 17 and my eldest lad's 22. So they
Mm.
now think that truffle fries with
It's
parmesan
normal.
and ribeye steak is just a normal thing to do when you go out with your dad. So I should have taken them for spag balls somewhere
Yeah, I know.
in
Mc,
hindsight.
McDonald's sounds Celtic.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Right, cheers for that, Owen. Next one, Simon Lewis. How you doing, Simon? Evening, folks.
Ah,
Great to see
Simon,
Dave
good
back
man.
on
I
Top Flight.
love
He's
Simon.
he's a brilliant bloke, isn't he? Top bloke.
Brilliant bloke. He came over to Ireland last year for my ride out. I had a subscriber ride out to
Yeah,
celebrate hitting 10,000 subscribers, and Simon came over from England, and
fantastic.
brought me some cheese as well, as
Good
a little
lad.
present. Top man. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a
great guy.
lovely fella. Lovely
I'm dying
fella.
to know his question though. I might
He
not say he's a
says,
great guy after this question.
so what's the best recollection from filming Come Dine With Me? Did you ever sample the food? He says, great to catch up at ABR. All the best. So, best
Uh,
recollection from filming Come Dine With Me.
Now, let me tell you, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but some of the places we go into, you wouldn't even take a cup of tea, let alone sample the food, right? But we did shoot a different sort of brand of the show 2 or 3 years ago. It was called Come Dine With Me Professionals, where it was restaurants competing rather than households,
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously, every restaurant has the brand to protect. So they're going to make sure they trot out the best food. Didn't always happen. But we shot one, funny enough, in Northern Ireland, the Maughan Seafood Company. And I think they won it that week as well. And the food in there was absolutely incredible. It's only an hour up the road from where I live. I've vowed to take my wife. Haven't been back there yet, but I will. So that was one of the more memorable dishes that I remember. But then, some people who go on the normal 5-person dining every
Mhm.
week show, a lot of these people don't realize they can cook until they're in the kitchen, in the heat of it, with the cameras looking at them. And
Really?
then they suddenly, and I've seen it happen so many times where they suddenly find the flair,
Yeah.
and they're not looking at the ingredients anymore. They're just adding what they think and going into the cupboard and adding something. And honest to God, it's some of the best. I've sampled some of the best food in my life on that show, and also some of the worst. So,
Would you stick your neck out and say what was the worst? You don't need to mention names, obviously, but
yeah, yeah.
people can
Well,
put two
so,
and two together, obviously.
yeah, one of the worst was up in Scotland. Um, I've got to be very careful here, actually. In fact, I probably can't say it because if it gets linked back to the program, I could be in big trouble. But it
Gotcha.
happened in Scotland.
It was in Scotland, so watch all the Scottish ones.
No, no. What I will say is that the food was so bad, it was inedible. It was pulled by the production, and there was a takeaway brought in.
Wasn't me. All
That was
right, it wasn't me.
that was many, many years ago. Yeah, yeah, many years ago.
Nice one.
Uh,
Cheers
it
for that,
made for a
Simon.
fa- it made for a fantastic TV program anyway.
I bet you've got some cracking stories that you can't chat about publicly.
Amazing.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, that's why you have to come to Ireland.
I'm on my way. I'm on my way.
Yeah, yeah. I've amazing stories. So-
Right, nice one. Cheers for that, Simon. Next one, Debbie Clegg. Hi, all. Great to have another cracking brew time to look forward to. Cheers, Debbie. Question for all. What do you miss most about home when you're away? Careful, Bruce. This could get you into bother. Right. What do you miss most about being home? Or most
we
about home?
well, I can tell you straight off because um, as I've mentioned, we got back from holiday this morning, and the thing I miss most, we rescue animals
Yeah.
where we live. My wife has a heart of gold, so we rescue horses and we rescue
Mhm.
dogs. And when I was away with all of the kids, it wasn't the same without all of the animals. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm not. I'm not going to get into start bringing the animals away on holiday, we have to have people who move into where we live to cater for all of the animals. And there's 10 horses I capped this at 10, by the way, because it was
10
getting out of hand.
horses.
Yeah, so
Jeez.
yeah, but years ago it was getting way out of hand. So we have 10 horses, we have 10 dogs, 5 cats. We used to have 22 chickens until the bloody pine marten came along and ate them all. And there are a few other waifs and strays along the way. So that's the thing I miss most.
Oh, wow.
We are huge animal people. My wife more so. I'd only ever had a dog when I was growing up. Met my wife, and she brings old horses back to life. She's an equine nutritionist.
Mhm.
So basically a glorified vet bringing these things back to life through nutrition. The only problem is she brings them home and they never feckin' leave. So I always know when she's going off to visit a client who's got a sick horse and she takes the bloody horse box with her. I
Yeah.
always know what's going to happen. But it's the same with the dogs. And this morning when I walked downstairs, now the dogs don't live in, well, not all of them live in the house. Obviously, we live in the countryside with that many animals. But when I walked downstairs this morning and went to see the dogs, it was just like the best welcome. It's how I
Yeah.
want to be welcomed by my kids. but
Yeah, yeah,
that doesn't happen in reality.
yeah.
But
They're always pleased to see you, aren't they? Like
it
dogs,
was
they're
just the
always
most
pleased to see you.
amazing welcome, and
Yeah,
I felt completely and utterly loved. So
yeah.
that's what I miss most about home. Yeah,
I'm the same. I'm the same. My missus will say the same. You know, when she's away, it's the dog she misses. Like,
yeah,
obviously, I miss I miss my wife. I love my wife, but you
yeah,
know, I do miss the dog. You know, for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Debbie also says, so on the subject, what's the thing you'd most like to take on bike travels that's just not possible to carry? Happy chatting. Cheers, Deb and Ian. Yeah, I am. Yeah, the dog. I'd love to put the dog on the back, but she's quite
Yeah,
nervy. So even though you can get those platforms now where you can put dogs in
yeah.
the back, have you seen them?
I
They're
have.
like,
Look incredible. Oh my God,
yeah,
I'd love one.
but I just don't think I don't think my dog Pip. I don't think she'd be happy on the back there because she's quite nervous and nervy. So maybe she'd love it. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. I'd love to try it. There's a guy who's riding around the world. I don't know if he's still doing it, but he had a dog carrier on the front. Him and his dog riding
On the
around the
front.
world. This,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. It was on he built some sort of contraption above his front wheel so he could actually see the dog and make sure the dog was happy enough.
Wow.
So he was looking at the dog in front of his handlebars, and I forget the name. It was years ago when I saw this on YouTube, and I thought I'd love to give that a crack. So
There's a lady who was traveling with, well, it's a lady and her partner on a bike each, and she was traveling with her dog on the back. She was, and her channel's called Go Roughly or Go Roughly, something like that. I think it's Go Roughly. But
mm,
sadly, the dog, they got to South America somewhere, and the dog got injured. I think it broke its leg running through a beach or running over a field. Had to go to the vets, and whilst it was in the vet and it was under anaesthetic, it just never recovered from the anaesthetic and it passed away.
oh
So they ended up back
Jesus,
home for ages, but they've now got another dog, and she's been training that dog to be up on the back, and the dog loves it now. You know, with the
yeah,
goggles and strapped into the sort of platform thing she's got in the back. And I think
yeah.
they've either heading off or they're going to be heading off again, traveling. I'm sure it's called Go Roughly. I'm sure that's what it's
That's
called.
wonderful. That is
Yeah,
wonderful.
amazing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I'd love to
Uh,
give that a shot.
third last question. Yeah, third. We've got three more on Patreon, and then I think we'll probably have to call it quits, mate, because that probably would take us to 3 hours, I think. Do you need a
Yeah.
bathroom break or anything?
No, not at all.
All right.
No, no,
Okay.
I'm good. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
All right,
So,
bud.
yeah, good
Right.
stuff.
Next one. Thanks for that, Davey. Next one. Two Bob Rocket. How you doing, Gordon? Evening, gents. Another brew time to look forward to. It'll be a good crack. Question for both. What's your pet peeve when on tour? And for David, who do you consider as the GOAT film director? Right, pet peeve when on tour. Hmm. Yeah, I tell you what I do get frustrated at. And this is when you're on tour with a group of people and you get off the bike, say you stop for a splosh stop, you stop for a coffee or you stop for lunch or something. And I know exactly why people do it because everyone's on holiday, aren't they? They're relaxing. But you descend on the cafe or the restaurant, wherever you stop, and everyone's there. Everyone takes an age to get seated. And then when they sit down, nobody looks at a menu or no one even thinks about what they want to
That's
drink.
insane.
So when the waiter
Yeah,
turns up and they go, right, what do you want? Everyone sat there going, oh, I don't know. You know, and you're just like,
yeah.
come on,
Can you give us
come
two
on.
minutes?
Yeah, I know.
Drives me insane. Yeah.
I'm just like,
No.
like as I'm walking to the cafe, I'm already thinking,
Yeah.
right, I want a Coke or I want a coffee, a bottle of water. You know what I mean? It's like I know what I want
Yeah.
as soon as we get in there, let's just do it. But
Yeah.
people are on holiday, aren't they? People just go into chill mode on holiday. What
Yeah.
about you?
Totally. Totally. It's the phone thing with me when I'm away. The pet peeve when I'm away. So if I'm in a restaurant with my family, the kids know don't be using their phones
Yeah.
if we're at a dinner table. It drives me insane.
Yeah.
However, I've been overruled. That they're too old now. Oh, just shut up, Dad. I'm using my phone. I've got my social media to do. Yeah, whatever. But when I'm away with presenters, and this is part and parcel of TV presenters now. Back in the day, hey, when I started, a TV presenter was a TV presenter, and now they have all of that social media
Mm.
inevitably, which goes with part and parcel of being a TV presenter. There's a load of social media to go with that. So I was away with one presenter a few years ago on a holiday show, and that presenter had 5 different phones sponsored by different magazines and newspapers. And that presenter thought it was totally acceptable to be filming the crew at a table having lunch, having dinner, and the crew basically working for that presenter, in the background. And I had to have a word after day one
Uh-huh.
and said, this is not going to happen any longer on the shoot.
Yeah, yeah.
I was looked at as if, I'll get with the times,
Uh-huh.
So that absolutely does my head in. And when the waiter was bringing food to this presenter, I would constantly have to be moving the phones out the way so the waiter could put the food down and in front of that person. It was the rudest thing I've ever seen. So that drives me insane.
Yeah, I see why.
I used,
Dave, your picture's
yeah,
frozen again. You've got fine
I'll
audio.
see that.
Your audio's fine, but
Well, hopefully you'll see it any second now.
hey, there we go.
Yeah,
Bosh, he's
there you go.
back.
He's back. Guess
Yeah,
who's
lovely
back?
job.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So yeah, you got what I was saying there about
Yeah,
the
phones.
phones. So that's my beef. Yeah.
I
What
can't
was
see
the
when
other
I'm
part of the
out.
question? Oh,
There was a
what was
there's
that?
another bit. He says, "Who do you consider as the GOAT film director?"
I love Scorsese.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah,
What is it you like
absolutely.
about his style then?
He's an artist. When I look at a program from a camera point of view, I can nearly always tell in Ireland, um, because I would know most of the cameramen. I can nearly always tell who's shot it because of their style, and that's what
Really?
I love about yeah. And that's what I love about Scorsese. And to be honest, I'm getting a bit like that on YouTube now. If I'm flicking and not paying any attention, what comes up next on a playlist type of thing,
Oh,
or recommended next, without even looking. If I'm looking at the YouTube on the telly there, I can nearly tell before I hear the voice who it is.
wow.
I love tuning into that style, and I'm a bit like that with Scorsese. Love his style. I love
So,
that. What about you, Bruce? Who does it for you, directing wise?
do you know? I mean, I sound a bit of a Neanderthal here, but I don't really pay too much attention to who the director is of a shot. Like I
Yeah,
really, I find myself now that I'm editing. I find myself now like trying to dissect shots and scenes and sequences in films and on TV. I'm watching it and I'm going, okay, right. So I see how they've transitioned from like that shot, or they've linked that scene to that scene, how they've done it, and the use of
yeah,
music when that comes in. But I don't think I'm at a level yet where I can attribute any particular style to a set style of editor or director
yeah,
or anything like that. I just look at some things and just think, oh, okay, I think I know what you've done there and why you've done that. Can I do
yeah,
that? Can I do something similar? And would that work in my style of content? You know what I mean? And I very
yeah.
rarely ever try it. I just look and think, well, that's quite interesting. Yeah, but
Did you see the movie 1917?
no,
Set in the trenches.
that's the
Oh,
one with that
mate.
massive, long, continuous shot. Is that the start? Yeah,
Opening shot.
yeah.
What's the cameraman's bloody name? Sir.
Can't remember.
He's now a sir.
Oh, is he?
So himself and Roger. Oh God, I'm shite with names these days. So when I see the partnership between a cameraman and a director to make something like that happen, like that
Mm.
opening was it an 8 minute shot,
Uh-huh.
all one shot. When I see the work which goes into that, I just, as well as the kudos to the cameraman, I just think, fair play to the director for even giving this a go.
Yeah.
And I know in my world, the best directors are always the ones who will listen to my ideas, not
Mm.
the ones who are there trying to justify their position because they're the director and I've worked with them.
Mm.
Uh, and so, yeah, the directors who will always get my 100% creativity are the ones who are stood there in front of me saying, Yeah, tell me more about that. Let's give that a try.
So I'm gonna get into the technicalities here, or try and at least appreciate and understand some of this. As a cameraman, like what's going through your mind for a specific shot? So let's say, okay, for that thing there, 1917. So are you told by a director, right? This is the shot that I want, or do they say to you, I'm thinking this. I'm thinking like, I don't know. I'm thinking one continuous shot. I want to convey this emotion, that emotion. This is the impact I want it to have on the storytelling of the scene or of the whole film or piece, whatever it is. Is it then up to you as to how you construct the shot, or do they tell you and then you just apply your style to it?
The latter part of what you were just saying there is how I like best to work. I love a director to come to me to say, right, this is the idea. This is what I
Yeah.
want to try and achieve. How can we do it? I love the partnership. Okay. The directors who come to me, dare I say it, the ones straight out of college, hope I don't get shot for saying that. And not all of them by any means. Oh my God. But I've had a few over the years who just so happen to be out of college who say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I want the shot. So basically, it's up to you to make it happen for me. And I remember famously in Ireland, one of the more experienced guys years ago, and it's one of the most famous stories in Ireland with a cameraman and a director partnership. The cameraman looked at the director and said to him, he said, if you're not careful, I'll give you exactly what you're asking for.
That's one of the best put downs ever, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I've been in that situation quite a few times. So I've just been shooting a new series in Ireland since February. All about up and coming bands, bedroom bands. And the idea is that you all have to put their first gig on, but they have to go out on the street, sell the tickets, find the venues, speak to the people, and rehearse a set of 15 songs to actually put the gig on. It's been the most incredible show to film. It's 6.5 hours. It actually hits the air in September. And the director on that, who I only worked with briefly last year, we've had the most amazing partnership. So the director will say, this is how I want it to look. This is what I want to try and achieve. And this is the emotion I want to try and get out of that. So when a director says that to me, rather than what I want is, they'll always get 100% of me. And we have just produced something special, even after 35 years of being a cameraman, for me to say that, yeah, we've just produced something special. Those times are few and far between. It's going to be the most incredible series. It actually turned into a huge social experiment because young kids don't know how to converse anymore, because everything's online. So to see these kids going out on the street and literally selling tickets and looking at venues and asking all the correct questions which go with finding the right venue for their gig and then putting the show on in front of, say, the 200 people. It's just been incredible to shoot. That's all done and dusted now, but I can't wait to work with that director again. He's a rare find, and he will make a meteor. What did they call it? Meteorological, whatever the fuck the word is. He's going to make a massive rise in the industry. A meteoric rise. That's the word I'm looking for. He's going to make a meteoric rise. That's the word I'm looking for.
Is that going to be available in mainland UK?
I think it's so strong. I actually think it's so strong. I think it could become a format. Where he might take it to other countries. It's such a strong show. That's exactly what I think will happen. So watch this space. But yeah, for some reason, when you're in the UK, you can't watch the RTE player because of licensing laws, and vice versa. I can't watch the BBC thing. So
VPN
and I don't know why that
it?
is.
I need to get sponsored by NordVPN or something. Do you know, I did actually have Nord.
That's it.
In the first couple of years of the podcast, I think it was NordVPN got in touch about it, and at the time they gave me a trial just to try it for myself and see, and I just thought, oh, I'm never gonna In fact, we're during COVID, so I wasn't really traveling that much. And I just thought, well, where am I going to use this? So I just thought, well, I'm not going to use it. I can't really punt it out to people, can I? And recommend it because it's not something I'm going to use. Well, now we are traveling. How many times has
Yeah,
it been like,
I
I've
know.
been away
I
somewhere and you're
know.
like, oh, so yeah.
God, that would be
NordVPN, if you're
brilliant.
watching
Yeah.
or listening, yes, please
Yeah.
approach me again.
Get back in touch.
It's like Manscaped. I had Manscaped get in touch with me, about,
Yeah.
Manscaped, the pube trimmer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing. So they were like, we'll send you a kit. So they sent me a kit and I did the business with this no nick blooming technology. I cut my blooming
I hope there's not a video.
No, there's not, but I cut my ball sack to bits. I was like, Jesus Christ, recommend this? Jesus. It looked like it was my first ever shave. You know what I mean? Bits of toilet paper all over the place. I was like, and it was a
Brilliant.
woman I was dealing with. She said, how'd you get
Oh
on? I was
God.
like, yeah, I can't
Oh
recommend
great.
that.
Have a look at this.
Yeah, have a look at this.
Like yeah, like a couple of swollen plums.
Yeah. It's the last chicken in Sainsbury's that's been beaten up, mugged. Right. Okay. Thanks for that, Gordon. Next one, Mark from Leeds. Great that Dave is back on Brew Time. He
Mark.
certainly won't be short of conversation as he loves to yap. I love you, pal.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Brucey baby, I'm famous for asking you to tell your fuck's sake, your candle story. I'm not going to ask you to recite it again unless Dave wants to hear it. I think Dave's heard it. You do, Dave, don't you? My question to Dave is, tell us one of your famous stories in life or on the film set location. It doesn't necessarily have to be about you. That doesn't include soiled socks. What's
Oh
that?
my God.
Soiled socks?
Well, you're not going to get to hear about soiled socks.
I want to hear about soiled socks.
Oh my God. I have a million stories. My wife says I need to write the book. I'll just give you a quick funny story now then, and I'll try and I'm just one which comes to light. And I don't know why this one's come to light, but I got my gallbladder out years ago, and I was told by the surgeon, this was about 10 years ago, that I needed to take like 2 months off work. Well, I'm a freelance cameraman. That was never going to happen. I was back to work the following week.
Yeah.
And we were filming, it was Come Dine With Me. We were filming in this very, very posh house in southern England. I'm not going to name the location. And we went out for lunch. I was on the day shift, which is the shift on Come Dine With Me, where you film all the food being prepared, and then you leave the house at 5 o'clock that night when the guests arrive, and then we go to the hotel and blah, blah, blah. So the day shift's quite an easy shift. So anyway, we go out. Now, I'd had the gallbladder removed the previous week. We go out in this posh area of southern England, and we go to a lovely restaurant for lunch where I had yellowfin tuna. Now, I don't know if any of the listeners have ever had their gallbladder removed, but basically you've got to take it handy with what you eat for the first few months, because it's all to do with the release of the liquid from your gallbladder, where your liver takes over the management of it, bile. So anyway, so I had yellowfin tuna because I like a nice lunch, and thinking that'll be grand. Anyway, we're walking back down the high street towards the house where we're filming, and I'm thinking, oh Jesus, this doesn't feel right. So I literally, it came on, and I was told by the surgeon that when you need to go, you're going to need to go. So we ran back to the house where we were filming after lunch, and I ran up. This is how grand the house was. It had big stone steps. I ran up the stone steps into the hallway with the parquet flooring, where there was a little toilet. I remember from having a wee in there in the morning. So I went into this little toilet, and well, I won't describe it, all right, but
obliterated it. Yes.
Yeah. So it was like a flock of pigeons. Now, this toilet had no ventilation, no window, nothing.
No.
It was a shoe cupboard which had been converted.
You didn't have a lighter.
No. So meanwhile, the rest of the crew is in the kitchen with the contestant who's putting on the dinner party that night in this house. And I just destroyed his fucking downstairs toilet. So if that wasn't bad enough, I'm just about done, right? and I hear voices outside of the toilet
Oh
door.
no.
And it's the contestant's wife with the children who've come back in for the afternoon, and they're playing in the hallway. And I'm thinking, I can't walk out now because this is horrific. Like I was nearly reaching, I can't walk out now because those poor people that don't deserve this. Anyway, I have my phone on me. The director who's in the kitchen, he rings me and he says, "Are you all right, Dave? We need to get going. Dinner party's happening in 3 hours' time. Where are you?" I said, "I can't move. I'm in the downstairs loo." And the wife is outside with the kids. I said, "Can you distract the wife and the kids? Because if I open the door, the smell is like going to knock the kids unconscious here." So he got into action. He got that side of the operation done, right? And I made it into the kitchen where we started filming again. All is forgotten, and I feel great. Except 5 minutes into the filming, the wife knocks on the kitchen door and she says to her husband, and we're there filming, right? She says to her husband, she said, "Can I have a word?" And the contestant saw how urgent this was. So he said to all of us, "Can we just stop filming? I need to go and sort this." He was wearing a radio mic.
And you could hear,
Right.
oh
So
no.
so he goes out into the hallway. The sound recordist is looking up to me, right? And I'm looking at the sound recordist, and he's got the cans on, he's looking up to me, and he says, so anyway, she had told him that basically whoever was last in the toilet had blocked the drains. We couldn't possibly host a dinner party in the house tonight. She'd phoned Dino Rod. Right, so we carried on with the filming. Dino Rod came to the house to unblock all the fucking drains just because I'd had my gallbladder removed the previous week. And the dinner party was nearly called off because of the smell in the house.
Oh,
So there you
brilliant.
go. Don't eat yellowfin tuna after you've had your gallbladder removed. It's not good.
Dave, that's pretty much the reason why when I'm on tour, I don't have breakfast or lunch because I get similar issues pretty much constantly. I feel your pain and your embarrassment, brother.
Oh man, it was a low point in my life.
That sounds quite fun to me. Right,
Well,
last one, Rebecca Christie.
go on.
Hi guys, Dave, just watched your last video about your life crossroads. Don't think too hard, do what makes you happy. As the big man says, live your life. Yeah, absolutely. Question. You're in the arse end of nowhere and see a UFO. Are you whipping out your camera or are you running away? If you film it, how are you going to make people believe it's real and not AI? Ooh,
That's a great question. However,
it
when you
is.
said whipping out I didn't know what you were going to come out with there. So I'm glad it was the camera and nothing else. I was trained in news. So I spent 15 years filming news. And when you're trained mentally to film news, you film everything in front of you as it unfolds and you question what you're filming afterwards, really.
Mm.
And that's the way I was brought up. Now, I've got into trouble for that a few times when I moved to Ireland because it's more feature and documentary stuff that I work on in Ireland. Obviously, Come Dine With Me is a totally different thing altogether. So I just film any event happening in front of me. Like I say, because that's the way I'm trained. So I would absolutely film the UFO. But the AI thing is going to be a huge problem. And I think more so for YouTubers. Funny enough, I don't think the broadcast world is ready to be taken over by AI yet. Who knows? Watch this space 2 years' time. We
Yeah,
might
yeah.
be eating these words the way technology is moving. But when I say YouTube videos, by the way, now, just as a side note here, and they've got AI voices and it's just
Oh,
a
yeah.
montage of photographs, I'd switch off. So
Yeah,
not interested
same.
in any of that. Absolute garbage. I won't waste my time watching that.
Have
Sorry,
you
Bruce, go
seen
on.
on YouTube now, when you upload a video, you have to check a box to say whether or not your content has any AI content in there?
Oh, wow. No, I haven't
You not seen
noticed that.
that?
No, I haven't
Yeah,
noticed it.
there's a little checkbox now, where the description
Mm.
and you put your tags and everything like that. As you scroll down, there's a box. There's one box that says, "Is this intended for children?" And then I think it's underneath that. It's
Yeah, I
got,
know that one.
does it contain any AI content? that sort of stuff.
Right.
And
Oh,
I'm
well, I'll
never
look
quite
out for
sure
that.
how to handle that. I always say no, but I'm using, Photoshop has, I can't remember the term, but basically, you can use Photoshop now to use AI to generate parts of an image. So, for example, I've got a vid coming out tomorrow from the Northumberland clan meet, and I'd taken a portfolio orientated picture of Bamburgh Castle. It was me sat in the throne outside Bamburgh Castle. So I've got the picture of
Yeah.
that, but obviously I want
Yeah.
that as 16:9 ratio for the thumbnail. So I
Yeah.
whacked it into Photoshop, and then you can sort of put it on a 16:9 canvas with the original image as a strip in wherever you want it. And then you can use Photoshop AI to generate the rest of the image. And it does a fantastic job at doing it. It's
Wow.
just
Wow.
witchcraft how it does it. So I've done that.
Yeah.
And then, I've used bits of Photoshop to bring in other bits of images and stuff. And I think to myself, well, that's AI, but it's the thumbnail. It's not the actual vid. So, I don't
Mm.
tick the AI box. And I just think to myself, well, should I? Am I supposed to? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, would the algorithm pick up on that maybe, and then sort of give you a strike? I don't know.
Hmm.
Um,
It's not so far. Hmm.
yeah. I mean, I would probably do the same as you. I wouldn't be ticking the AI box
No.
because I mean, what's that old saying? Asking for forgiveness is a lot easier than asking for permission, you know.
Yeah, 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 it's very true. Very true.
Yeah, yeah. So
How do you think AI is going to impact then on YouTube?
I think we're going to see a lot more videos from creators, just like what I was talking about, you know,
Faceless
where
content.
yeah, faceless content, but also reactions to announcements like the new GSA.
Hmm.
I'd say with things like that in the future, that's where we'll really see it creeping in very quick, where people want to be the first to get a sort of reaction vid out, you know. And I think if they have everything done by AI, they can knock something together in 2 minutes.
Hmm.
Done by ChatGPT or something like that. You can
Hmm.
trot out a video within 2 minutes and have it
Yeah,
uploaded.
yeah,
And I
true.
think I think that's where we're going to see the initial rush of it, sort of live reactions to announcements. So, indeed, even with news, say last week when Biden announced he was stepping down, I think we're just going to see a barrage of reactions to
Yeah.
big news stories like that, and it'll all be AI. And I think, well, personally, I'm thinking you'll have to wait for like a couple of hours to get a proper news story,
Yeah.
without having to sift through all of that AI. So I think that's where we'll see the majority of it happen.
Hmm. I've been using AI a lot for the podcast actually. There's a website called Opus Clips, and it
Yeah, I heard of them.
specializes in, yeah. So I pay the subscription to them, and I've probably been using them this year. It's only this year I've started using them. And they'll take the long form content and then they'll use AI to go through it. And then they give you 40 or 50 clips, and they can range from 0 to 30 seconds up to like 5 minutes, depending on what you want. And they'll annotate it, and you can now, in the recent updates, they've really gone much more in depth with the editing suite that they have. Because before,
Hmm.
what you got was kind of what you got really in terms of the camera, the jump cuts and the clips that they had and what audio you had. Now they're giving you a lot more control as to what's coming. It's becoming a really good bit of kit. So that can
Yeah,
save me a lot of time. I still,
yeah,
for a podcast, I will still sit, and when I edit the podcast, I'm listening to the whole podcast at, double speed, but I'm still cutting out snippets that I think, oh, this will be good for the trailer.
I've got
So
you.
I'll still do that. So the first sort of snippet, the first promo vid I'll launch on a Wednesday when it goes live is generally one I've done manually. But after that, I tend to just use Opus clips to find talking points throughout the content. And
Interesting.
generally it does a fairly good job at it. It's definitely
Yeah,
getting a
I must
lot
take a
better.
look at that.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, yeah, I must take a look at it. I mean, again, what it comes down to for YouTube as well is that any sort of tool which we can use to save time
Mhm.
is as well. It'll
Yeah.
always get my interest anyway. It'll
Yeah.
always prick my ears up. So
Absolutely. Right, Dave, that's us. Just about 3 hours, pal. There's still loads of questions on Instagram and Facebook. Folks, I'm so sorry we've not got to them. But
brilliant.
if we can do this meet in person, if I can get my arse over to Ireland, mate,
Yeah,
I'll bring
let's
a
do
copy
it.
of these
Let's do it,
questions
man.
and we'll do it in the pub.
Oh, wouldn't that be great crack? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'd love that.
Right.
Right. You're on. I'm going to hold you to that, Bruce.
Mate, I'm up for it. I want some
Yeah.
of these truffle parmesan chips that you're talking about.
Chips. I'll organise it. You don't worry.
Right, you're on. Dude, before we go, any promos, any plugs, any shout outs you want to give? Floor's yours.
Do you know what? Rather than a promo or a plug, I really do want to give a bit of a shout out. We've spoken about it a few times, and it was to do with that Life Changes video that I released over the last month or so. And I was really at a crossroads where I didn't know whether to carry on with the YouTube. I was going through a few personal things as well. I was also told by the doctor that I had to change my lifestyle, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, pre-diabetic. It seemed like my world and everything I loved over that sort of 2 week period was just collapsing. I was pretty low, and the YouTube thing was just going to be put on the back burner. But rather than putting it on the back burner, I went out and made a video and told everybody what was happening in my life and how I was feeling. And I'm not kidding you. It's thanks to you guys getting in touch, the overwhelming support and messages that I got. It didn't just make me carry on with YouTube. It lifted me right back up. And I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who supported me and got me back on my feet. And there's not many times in life that I hit rock bottom. That was one of them. And all of you guys out there got me back going. And thank you so, so much for that.
Awesome. The power of social media when it's used how it should be used.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice one. Not much more I can say to that. Folks, if you've not checked out Dave's channel, have a look in the links down below. Make sure you check it out. If you enjoy what you're seeing, give him a like, a follow, a subscribe. Dave, thank you very much for coming again onto the podcast.
Loved it. Loved it.
100%. I'm coming to the Emerald Isle and we'll do this in person. Hopefully this year if I can. But
wouldn't it be great if we could get a photograph of the two of us eating some Parmesan truffle?
I know. Part of me wants to do it. Part of me wants to get on the bike tomorrow and come over to you right now, so I could use it as the thumbnail.
Oh God, that would be so good.
Never know. The America trip, is that September?
September the 25th. I head off. Yeah.
Okay, and it's how long for?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Right.
And,
okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So maybe we'll try and schedule something for after that, and then we can chat about the trip as well. Okay.
Oh, wouldn't that be brilliant? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be brilliant?
Lovely. Ireland in November. What can go wrong?
Nothing. Yeah. Great to see you. Great to see you, Bruce. Thanks for having me on. Really, really appreciate it, mate. And
absolute pleasure.
Always good to catch up.
Nice one.
I'll chat to you soon, buddy.
Okay, mate. I hope you've enjoyed this one, folks. Keep doing your thing. Look after those that you love. Get on out there whenever you can. But most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha!
Salam.
Dude, mint. Awesome. Let me stop that.